What's up guys, this is your favorite fanfic YouTuber, the Fanfic Majesty, and welcome to another amazing video. You can follow me on Patreon for exclusive stories. 3SS 051 Ice Modeling Magic, commissioned by Hero S. Ask for flowers, ask for comments, ask for rewards. Interesting for you. 6 women who are known for their large body parts. More. 112, 28, 37. Grey Folpasta, an ice mage, is one of the core members of the protagonist group in Fairy Tail. He can make ice magic into various shapes as weapons, and his control and strength are very strong. Of course, what impressed people the most was his perverted eccentricity of quickly taking off his clothes and exposing his upper body. It should be said that it is worthy of playing ice, and it is not afraid of the cold at all. Ice modeling magic, the magic of making ice into something with a shape and attacking it. Grey is good at making various weapons out of ice. Like his brother Leo, he is good at making moving objects out of ice. In short, the creativity and strength of modeling magic are closely related to the magic power of the performer. At the same time, Grey's experience in using ice modeling magic washed Anzhe's brain again. His brain capacity is not enough. I don't know how long it took, as if I accidentally slept through the night during my lunch break, Anzhe finally received it. Fortunately, thinking speeds up, and the time wasted in the system space is only a moment in the outside world. Call. Anzhe let out a long breath and left the system space, the gas he blown out suddenly froze. He puts his hands together, magic works, creates. The three-dimensional coat of arms of the Fairy Tail Guild and the lifelike ice sculptures were all formed in one go in his hands like clouds and flowing water. Grey followed the teachings of his master Ulu, using both hands at the same time when activating his abilities. In fact, any styling magic is best performed with both hands. The shape made with one hand is very unstable. If the balance is lost, the production will fail directly. Grey's ice modeling magic is more comprehensive. Whether it is the attack range and means, or various control ice magic, auxiliary ice magic, or even a holy ice sword, you can create weapons for yourself. It's so cold, do you feel suddenly cold? In the distance, Mt. Lady's desk, eating snacks, she felt a cold current and shivered all over. Me too. The others seconded, and then all turned around, looking in the direction of the cold snap. It is derived from the ice sculpture of the Fairy Tail Guild crest in Anzhe's hand. Everyone, mount. Lady said. Director Anzhe, don't take the lead in fishing during working hours. Anzhe got up and came to Baruch, and asked her to find a pattern designer on the internet, and responded in defense. Don't talk nonsense, this is not fishing, I am thinking about the badge design of our firm. Hearing this, everyone looked intently. The ice sculpture in Anzhe's hand was indeed in a very good shape. It's so boring to say, there is no work at all. So, Mt. Lady didn't have much, and stretched lazily. Occupation Hero S is actually very busy on weekdays. He spends almost all day outside and doesn't have much time to sit in the office. It's just that their firm has just opened, and although they are well known, no one has issued a Hero S commission to them for a while. There will always be bread, and there will be milk. Anzhe just opened his mouth to encourage, but unexpectedly the receptionist's phone rang. A receptionist answered the phone. Hi, this is Fairy Tail office. After some chatting, the receptionist was overjoyed, and he would also receive a certain commission from the Hero S he received. The open-air shopping mall near here has issued us a commission to patrol the area, and 2 professional Hero S are needed. Sook. Anzhe thought of the shopping mall that rescued Jiro Kyoka, and it seemed like reciprocation, and entrusted the patrol area to their office. Which one of you is going? Anzhe looked at the 4 professional Hero S. The reward for completing the Hero S commission, 7 to 3 points, and 3 points of the reward belong to the firm. Me. Mount. Lady hurriedly stood up. She couldn't wait to start the Hero S event and make money. The other 3 had no intention of competing, and one was chosen. There is one of you who wants to go. Jungle Kamui, Sirius, and Death Chicken looked at each other, and finally the first 2 shook their heads, and Death Chicken became the second candidate. You have to work hard and leave a good impression on the other party, so you will continue to entrust our firm. Anzhe reminded the 2 of them to put on a good expression, and then turned to look at Mt. Lady. Don't fish, eat snacks, goof off and stuff like that. Understood, definitely not. Mount. Lady answered proudly. Although she is prone to desertion, she will definitely not desert in the first Hero S event after becoming a professional Hero S. After the 2 left, the phone in front of the receptionist rang again. Boss, I'm looking for you. Anzhe walked over to answer the phone. Hey, Kongui Soul Teacher, what's the matter? Have you opened your office yet? Anzhe thought to himself, could it be that Kongui Soul called to congratulate him? It just so happens that I have a Hero S commission here, and I need 3 professional Hero S. Does your firm have the manpower to execute this commission? Certainly. Anzhe raised his voice excitedly. The incident and commission narrated by Kongui Soul are Hero S commissions against villains. By the way, defeat the Flamingo and Iron Shark. The former is considered to be of the nature of being brave, and the bonus is not much. But the latter is in the nature of entrusted tasks, calling Anzhe a lot of rewards on the bank card account. Because of the Hero S entrustment of the combat category, the general rewards are quite high. Then, talk in detail and hang up the phone. Anzhe beckoned to bring Jungle and Kamui and Sirius together in front of him, exactly 3 of them, and asked the reception staff to send their information to the police for verification. It seems that our newly opened Hero's office is not busy at all. Anzhe had a bright smile and bright eyes. 052 The origin of the evolutionary organization, gathered professions Hero's. Ask for flowers, ask for comments, ask for rewards. From Kongui Soul's mouth, Anzhe learned that he roasted Iron Shark with flames, but changed his direction and saved his life. Quirks Enhancement Elixir. The villain's organization, evolutionary, that produces this illegal potion. The specific reason for the matter is still related to the beginning of Quirks' birth. This organization seems to have been established in that era. Because the appearance of many people will be changed by the influence of Quirks. Jiro Kyoka's headphone wire-like earlobes. Hair with undulating curls will have a pinch of vertical curls. These are normal in this era, but in the era when Quirks was born. Those whose appearance is affected by Quirks are regarded as outliers by those around them. Discriminate. Bullying. Some of them who couldn't bear this kind of treatment recruited people who had suffered the same, and they were the origin of the evolutionists. They preach that the appearance is influenced by Quirks, but it is actually a kind of evolution, an evolved human being beyond ordinary human beings. For this reason, for so many years, it has been studying the human body and Quirks gene, the absolute villains organization. According to Kongui Soul, the police teamed up with many professional heroes, searched with a radius of 10 kilometers, and found a total of 8 points. Anzhe printed out a city map, circled 8 points with a red pen, and showed it to Jungle Kamui and Sirius. The villains organization seems to have been exposed. During the process of the Hero's and the police investigating these 8 points, some people attacked and obstructed. Anzhe continued, the villain's approach I know it is to confuse the line of sight. When thinking about their manufacture of the Quirks strengthening potion, 9 out of 10 they are buying time to transfer important data or researchers. Therefore, the police also issued Hero's commissions to Hero's offices throughout the city to investigate these 8 points at the same time. Find the real lair of the villains in one go and destroy it. Then which point are we going to investigate? Sirius asked. This point in the southern outskirts is also the point in charge of Kongui Soul Teacher. There is an abandoned factory over there. With a wave of Anzhe's hand, Baruj and others took care of the house, and the 3 left the Hero's office to carry out Hero's activities. The police have issued a Hero's commission, and now we are waiting for the other professional Hero's to come to support. Kongui Soul looked at the time, at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, said to the other 2 professional Hero's. They were in the south of the city, near a safe house in the suburbs. There are 3 job Hero's on standby. Open black lens bracket North American shorthair close black lens bracket, P-Psi Cats combination. Open black lens bracket Mandalay Cat close black lens bracket, P-Psi Cats combination. Empty Ghost Soul Teacher Yingying. Afterwards, Anzhe led Jungle Kamui and Sirius into the safe house. Sorry, the journey is a bit far away, I just came here now. It's okay, it's better to say that I thought Anzhe. No, you will come later, mage. Kongui Soul smiled and shook hands with Anzhe, correcting his slip of the tongue. When performing Hero's activities, each other should be called by each other's Hero's name, and Anzhe's current Hero's name is Mage. Then, Kongui Soul looked at the 2 people beside Anzhe. Dense Forest Kamui and Sirius, right? Times 2. Jungle Kamui and Sirius looked a little nervous. Facing the professional Hero's who had been famous for a long time, the 2 who had just debuted introduced themselves. Open black lens bracket Dense Forest Kamui close black lens bracket, Fairy Tale Office. Open black lens bracket Sirius close black lens bracket, Fairy Tale Office. Open black lens bracket Wizard close black lens bracket, the director of Fairy Tale Office. Are you the Anzhe who became a professional Hero's at the age of sophomore? At this time, the North American Shorthair came to Anzhe and looked him up and down. North American Shorthair cat, with blonde hair fluttering ponytail, blue cat costume, paws and tail. It is said that she has reached the marriageable age now, and she is very curious and active, even posting a request for marriage on her professional Hero's information. I'm so young, I'm so envious. I will definitely become a super famous professional Hero's in the future, let's spray some saliva first. The North American Shorthair cat bared its teeth and claws enviously, and was about to spit on Anzhe to express its grief and indignation at the marriageable age. Result. Anzhe originally extended her hand to show a friendly handshake, but seeing the North American Shorthair cat opened its mouth in a fierce manner, she subconsciously raised her hands to pinch her cheeks. The sound stopped abruptly. The 4 eyes stared at each other. The North American Shorthair cat's pink lips pursed, successfully preventing her saliva from spraying out. Sorry, lol. Anzhe couldn't help letting go of his hand, and was amused by the appearance of the North American Shorthair cat. With a swipe, the pretty face of the North American Shorthair was flushed, full of grief and indignation, as if being bullied. I'm fighting with you. The North American Shorthair cat waved its paws and yelled at Anzhe, but it was just venting and didn't use any strength, it felt like it was tickling him. But her teammate, the Mandalay cat, couldn't stand it, pulled her to stop the embarrassing scene, and explained, she is just a little anxious, after all, she has reached the age to get married. The Mandalay cat has short red hair and 4 red whiskers on its face. It looks very mature and gentle. Cough cough. Kongui Soul also coughed twice, and gave a step to cover up the little squabble, and continued, since everyone is here, let's talk about the battle plan. Deep in the outskirts ahead, there is an abandoned factory named Kawasaki Denki. When we were about to investigate, we were blocked by a bunch of punks for a while. Those little gangsters are insignificant characters, it seems that someone gave them a sum of money, and there is no usable information for the purpose of profit. Fortunately, the Quirks avatar of Kongui Soul can easily deal with them, and let the police bring them all back to the police station. The empty ghost soul continued. There is no rescue in this commission. If it is indeed the villains organized by the evolutionary organization, it will be fine to defeat them all. But I want to investigate first and find out the situation. Because if this point is the lair of the villains must be particularly dangerous, and the habits of Mr. Xiangying, all his principles are safety first. Then let me come. At this time, Anzhe interjected, the mimetic skills obtained in the previous A-level lottery are just suitable for the current situation. 053 Anzhe who sneaked into the factory, the relationship between the evolutionary and the League of Villains. Ask for flowers, ask for comments, ask for rewards. Mimicry. There is no basis for words. Looking at the puzzled eyes of several people, Anzhe wanted to let them see. This safe house is made of trees, with only brown as the base tone. Anzhe's magic power was running in his body, floating vaguely on the surface of his body, blending with the brown environment. The next moment, everyone in the room widened their eyes in surprise, right under their noses. Anzhe is gone. What's going on? Sirius reached out to touch, but Anzhe had already left the place. He quietly walked behind the North American shorthair cat, the naturally hanging ponytail shone like broken gold, and he stretched out his hand to gently pull off the restraining rubber band. The North American shorthair turned around sharply, the loose blonde hair fluttering with it. End mimicry. Anzhe's figure appeared. You. The North American shorthair cat has a pretty face with blush, showing white teeth. Give. Anzhe placed her rubber band on the palm of her hand before the North American shorthair cat blew up in anger. This is a kind of use of my quirks, which is integrated with the environment and is extremely hidden. Anzhe changed the subject and explained to everyone what happened just now. Kongui Soul nodded. Anzhe's ability is perfect for investigating information inside the factory. Then, action. After the last confirmation, everyone walked into the suburbs. A meeting point has been set up, enough to observe the appearance of the factory, and support can be provided at any time. Mimicry. Alone, Anzhe approached the abandoned factory called Kawasaki Denki in front of him. The surrounding weeds were overgrown, and the countless noises of insects lingered in my ears. As winter approached, the sky darkened quickly and there were no lights. Only the hazy moonlight shines on the abandoned factory, and the tool is thin, but it has the opposite effect. It didn't provide much brightness, but it seemed like a beast with its fangs open, exuding a dangerous atmosphere like a dragon's lake and a tiger's lair. Fortunately, Anzhe's eyes, after transforming into a dragon's physique, have night vision ability and will not be affected by the dark environment. He sneaked in quietly. The scene inside the factory was an assembly line composed of unfamiliar machines and older conveyor belts. If you just look at it this way, it is no different from an ordinary abandoned factory. However, pace. Anzhe first looked around to make sure there was no camera, and then approached a dark red door. There are clear footprints in front of the gate, which proves that there are real people in this so-called abandoned factory. Without waiting for Anzhe to contact, the door was suddenly pushed open, exposing the bright lights inside. Immediately, Anzhe held his breath, stopped, and leaned closer to the wall to hide himself, trying not to make a sound. In sight, there is a man with an orangutan head and a bird man with wings as his arms. What a waste. It was swallowed up by that Sizem's invisible Quar raincoat, and even the Quirks strengthening potion that was thrown outside was taken away. The orangutan-headed man gritted his teeth angrily, and yelled at the winged man next to him. Master Yamamoto, please calm down. The most urgent thing is that we have been exposed. Even if a group of gangsters stop us, the hiding place will be discovered by the police sooner or later. The winged man said the name of the man with the orangutan head, very anxiously. Don't worry, I have asked all the researchers to bring all the research materials and Quirks enhancement potions. When Kurogiri comes to pick us up, leave this abandoned factory with empty equipment to the police. After speaking, Yamamoto took out a communication device, and taking this opportunity, Anzhe slipped past the two into the gate. Why does it feel like there is a flowing wind? Yamamoto was about to turn around to check, and the communication was connected, so he just thought it was his own illusion, and focused all his attention on the call. These two animal-like people should be people from the evolutionary organization. When sneaking into the real lair, many researchers in white coats appeared in sight. There are piles of cultivation tanks all around, which are full of humanoid monsters without humanoid wriggling and exposed brains. Nomu. Invisible raincoat in size M. Kurogiri. At this moment, the degree of surprise in Anzhe's heart cannot be expressed in words. Whether it is Nomu or Kurogiri, they are the forces of the League of Villains in our English plot. He really didn't expect that the League of Villains and the Evolutionists, these two organizations would have a deal and cooperate. It is not impossible for the organization Evolutionary to be established by AFO alone. There is also the invisible Quar raincoat of size M. This villains who first appeared on the stage and led to the plot should have been just a trivial person, but it seems to have done something that made the evolutionary organization very angry. In my world, the plot has completely changed drastically. Anzhe can also be sure that according to the plot of the comics before time travel, he absolutely doesn't even know how he died. I have sneaked into the villas, and I am convinced that this abandoned factory is the lair of evolution. Anzhe took a deep breath to calm down, and then communicated with the empty ghost soul and others outside through telepathy. Here we have to admire the arrangement of Kongui Soul, who was familiar with the profession Hero's quirks present and came up with this investigative decision. Mandalay Cat. Her quirks are telepathy, capable of telepathic dialogue with others, and the range is very wide. Even if they are outside the factory, they can still talk to Anzhe inside the factory. Immediately afterwards, Anzhe roughly informed Mandalay Cat of the environment inside the factory and the plan revealed by Yamamoto. It can't be dragged on any longer, otherwise the evolutionists' personnel may escape and must attack. The empty ghost souls from outside first notified the police, asking them to send support immediately, and then launched an attack on the factory. And Anzhe, who was lurking, waited for an opportunity. Unprepared, launch a surprise attack. 054 Attack the factory, release the poisonous scorpion. Ask for flowers, ask for comments, ask for rewards. Kawasaki Denki Factory in the southern suburbs. Just after Ape Yamamoto finished the communication, a man with the appearance of a scorpion hurried over and said, Master Ape Yamamoto. Professional Hero S are already approaching the factory, and it looks like they are about to attack. What? Ape Yamamoto, who was originally at ease, suddenly panicked. Kurogiri picks them up with a portal, and it will be a while. Their intelligence learned that the police and Professional Hero S started to search, so they faked a total of 8 points to confuse their sight, and then hired a bunch of punks from the chaotic black market without order and law. Continue to ambush. Let some people block the police and Professional Hero S waste time, and let some people go to the remaining 7 points. Now Kurogiri should be using quirks, transfer those punks. But who would have thought that those Professional Hero S would find the real hiding factory of their evolution in the 8 points by such a coincidence? Under the leadership of Yamamoto Saru quickly, the 3 of them walked to the monitoring room and saw Sora Ghost Soul and others outside the factory. They walked directly into the factory without any hesitation. Empty Ghost Soul, could it be that All Might is there too? Ape Yamamoto was secretly startled, he knew about the police action, and even invited the number 1 Hero S peace symbol over. And the empty Ghost Soul, whom the police searched for so quickly, was his quirks double. The problem is that Ape Yamamoto is not clear about the occupational hero S distributed by the police on the 8 spots. Now seeing the main force of the search, the soul of the empty ghost, I thought that the main force of the battle, All Might, was also nearby. Issuing a first level alert now, within 10 minutes, if our help does not arrive, you will destroy all the materials you are going to take away, and inject Quirk's strengthening potion to fight. Ape Yamamoto immediately made a decision and notified all the researchers in the laboratory through the radio. Anzhe, who was lurking, also heard the announcement. Afterwards, Ape Yamamoto turned to look at Poison Scorpion and Winged Man, and took out 2 golden potions from his body and handed them to them. What is this? Last time, based on the data of the Flamingo, the new generation of Quirks strengthening potion researched is enough to fully evolve your Quirks. The poisonous scorpion took it directly. He was originally a security guard, and he had long been prepared to devote himself. But the Winged Man was a little hesitant. He was half secretary and half researcher, but he knew the side effects of injecting the Quirks strengthening potion. The price of evolution Quirks. Consume the vitality of the human body. Complete evolution sounds nice, but they didn't study the disappearance or reduction of side effects. So the word, complete, means that the price is also to consume the full vitality of the human body. Die. All of this is for us evolvers in evolution. If Professional Hero S break through the defense line, we will still be unable to escape. While talking, Yamamoto took out another golden potion, and the meaning was obvious. Once the situation is critical, even he, the leader who manages the laboratory, will lead by example and do his best. Therefore, the Winged Man readily accepted the potion, and he and the poisonous scorpion returned to the place just now to meet the enemy. What he didn't know was that Yamamoto put away the golden medicine immediately after he left. His face was full of apprehension, and he didn't look like he was righteous and dedicated just now. Rather, it doesn't matter if everyone here dies, as long as they hold off the Professional Hero S until Kurogiri comes and picks him up. It's really not possible, let's release all these unfinished nomu. Ape Yamamoto looked at the research room, the culture tanks where nomu was placed, although they couldn't last even a few minutes out of the culture tanks. But in these few minutes, their combat power is definitely tricky enough for Professional Hero S. At the same time, 5 people, Kongwi Soul, North American Shorthair, Mandalay, Jungle Kamui, and Sirius, have entered the factory. New news from Anzhe, we have to solve the villains within 10 minutes, otherwise they will destroy the important data. Mandalay Cat said telepathically while covering the technological equipment on his head with one hand. Tell Anzhe what he heard. Compared with defeating the personnel or layers that destroy the evolutionaries, the research data of the Quirks strengthening potions they produce are the most important. Let's attack. Without further ado, dozens of clones suddenly appeared beside Kongwi's soul. The North American Shorthair Cat also patted the ground with both hands, and one after another monsters made of mud appeared. Her quirks are soil flow, which can manipulate the soil at will to form various terrains or earth monsters. 2 of the earth monsters, to be on the safe side, protected the Mandalay Cat and Sirius, who were less effective in combat. There are 2 footsteps over there, running towards us. Sirius pointed in one direction. Ready to fight. Preemptive strike lacquer lock. For a moment, the avatar and the monster rushed over, and the dense forest Shenwei also directly performed its special attack. He ran into the Winged Man and the poisonous scorpion head-on. Wind blade. The Winged Man looked at the branch that arrived first, and flapped his wings, letting the air flow to send out several invisible wind blades. Immediately cut off some branches, but there are more branches, extended to attack him. The winged man no longer loves to fight, and fled to the sky with flapping arms and wings. He is also a little cautious. If it is not necessary, let the combatant do scorpion die. And the poisonous scorpion also used the scorpion pincers crazily to pinch off the branches. But there were too many of them, and the earth monsters and clones had already arrived, so he injected the golden potion into his body without hesitation. Taking the opportunity, the branches wrapped around the poisonous scorpion's body, forming a cage to lock him inside. Both the earth monster and the clone rushed over, passed through the gap left by the cage, and punched the poisonous scorpion with 2 fists. Suddenly, there was a sudden change. On the surface of the poisonous scorpion's body, a cloud of dark purple gas suddenly released. When the branches came into contact with the gas, they softened instantly. The earth monster was also dyed dark purple, and its body disintegrated into a pool of mud. Not good. The quirks of this villain should be poison gas, retreat first. But Kong Gui's soul sensed the information sent by the clone, his face changed drastically, and he made a decision. In this small factory, the threat of poisonous gas is not ordinary. And the Mandalay cat also told Anzhe what happened here through telepathy. A poisonous scorpion. Looks like I have to attack from the inside first. Anzhe took a deep breath, looked at the many researchers in front of him, and prepared to make a move. 055 Shape of Ice. Lancers, Dragons Roar. Ask for flowers, ask for comments, ask for rewards. Anzhe observed the interior of the research room. All the information in Yamamoto's mouth seemed to be in a USB flash drive. This USB flash drive was placed on the experimental table. As long as someone broke into this research room, all the researchers in white coats around would destroy this USB flash drive. However, none of them knew that someone had already sneaked into the research room. With the magic of mimicry, even the camera can't capture the picture, although it is not sure whether it can escape infrared rays. But inside this abandoned factory, there is no infrared warning. As long as Anzhe pays attention to the walking steps, holds his breath, and does not touch any place where the sound may occur. He is a master assassin. The shape of ice. Anzhe puts his palms together, runs the magic power, and creates. Do you feel cold? Did you accidentally turn on the air conditioner in the cultivation tank? Back. The surrounding researchers in white coats were discussing, and some people who stood at the back turned around and saw the bright ice blue light, and loudly reminded them. But it's too late. Form of ice. Lancer. Anzhe pushed out with both hands, a huge blue magic circle formed, and countless ice spears shot out from it, stabbing all the researchers. Hoo. A rose blooms, and the true face of the rose is the flying blood, ice crystals, and petals of flesh. Countless spears of ice pierced through the chests of the corresponding researchers. Anzhe showed his figure, and a pair of black eyes scanned the research room, and there was no warmth in his eyebrows. After confirming that there were no survivors, he walked to the experimental bench and took the USB flash drive. The first time he killed someone, Anzhe didn't have any extreme feelings, at most he felt a little nausea in his stomach. Of course, when you draw magic and gain the experience of a mage, there is no lack of experience in seeing blood and killing people. When receiving these, Anzhe's ability to bear was greatly improved. As for why Anzhe dared to kill people without mercy. Because of this hero's commission from the police, a kill order was issued. It is enough to see how anxious the police are, wanting to deal with the evolutionists and the quirk strengthening potion they produced. It should be fine now, right? Anzhe waved the condensed ice sword, and cut off all the test tubes on the test bench regardless of the randomness. In Yamamoto's notice, there is an emergency situation for these researchers to inject quirk strengthening potion to fight. It has to be said that the quirk strengthening potion has greatly improved the combat power, and even Anzhe can't help feeling particularly tricky. So if you keep your hands, it will only cause more trouble. Wing. God feet. The galloping wind. Then, Anzhe blessed 3 speed magics in one breath, and flew outside. Now the situation of Kongui Soul and the others is very bad. Originally, he and Quirks, the North American shorthair cat, could both have a numerical advantage. But this advantage disappeared under the large-scale poisonous gas released by the villain Scorpion's Quirks. Solve all the villains in the research room, and get the information of Quirk's strengthening potion, and then rush to support. At the same time, monitor the Yamamoto monkey in the room. He looked at the mutation that happened in the research room, and the frightened whole person fell to the ground with a horrified expression. How is it possible? When did you infiltrate? Ape Yamamoto hastily pulled out the communication device and called Kurogiri, who was now in critical condition. The research room was breached, and important information fell into the hands of the professional hero, a complete failure. But it doesn't matter anymore, Yamamoto Ape just wants to escape from here now. He didn't want to die here, or be caught and spend the rest of his life in prison. By the way, there are still those unfinished nomu, release them all to buy me time. As if remembering something, Yamamoto took out a remote control-like device and pressed the red button on it. Immediately, the culture tanks inside the research room separated and fell off. And the unfinished nomu inside roared in unison, irrational, and instinctively pursued the breath of the creature Anzhe. Growling. Could it be? At the same time, Anzhe, who was flying in the air, turned his head after hearing the sound. He made a huge mistake. Killed the villains, destroyed the potion, but didn't destroy the cultivation tanks and the nomu inside. It would be better to say that he subconsciously thought that the nomu in the cultivation tank were all dead things, but now it seems that it is obviously not the case. But I don't have time to worry about it. Let's deal with the empty ghost soul first, the poisonous scorpion and the winged man villains. Suddenly, Anzhe stopped, and the dragon wings fluttered in the air. In his sight, the winged man was also flying in the air, and the two collided in the sky. Form of ice. Battle axe. The magic in the body works, and the hands create. The magic circle is generated. A huge axe made of ice emerged from it and slashed at the man with wings. Apparently the other party didn't react, but he flapped his wings and twisted his body in the crisis. The battle axe just cut off one of his wings, and blood gushed out. Then, the winged man couldn't maintain the air and fell straight down. Anzhe didn't go to make up the knife, the winged man who lost one wing is equivalent to a cripple waiting to die. He continued to fly forward, and in the space ahead, the color of the air completely turned purple. Kongui Soul and Jungle Shenwei, holding their breath in the poisonous gas, struggled to support the poisonous scorpion's attack. In the distance, the North American shorthair cat passed out on the ground, the clothes on her body were soaked in blood, and there was a piercing wound on her chest. The situation is at stake. Anzhe took a deep breath, and an invisible magic circle was formed from his mouth. The roar of the heavenly dragon. With a roar like a dragon, a hurricane came out of Anzhe's mouth. Its direction is not the poison gas space, but the sky. The strong wind that swept from the sky contained the power to tear everything apart, and the huge impact hit the sky wall of the abandoned factory. A huge hole was broken, and endless silvery white moonlight poured in. At the same time, the outside world borders on the air circulation inside. The poison gas released by the poisonous scorpion also flows out towards the outside at a speed visible to the naked eye. Anzhe's purpose is to dispel the poisonous gas first. 056 Kill the poisonous scorpion and heal the magic. Ask for flowers, ask for comments, ask for rewards. Poison gas. My poison gas. Damn it, who is it? The poisonous scorpion used two giant pincers to pinch the air fiercely, but it couldn't pinch him at all, and the poisonous gas flowed out to the hole in the sky. He turned around abruptly to find out, but in his sight there was another blurry figure that couldn't be seen, rushing towards him at an extremely fast speed. The sword horn of the fire dragon. Anzhe flapped the dragon wings, the magic power was running in his body, and the flames of the fire dragon were entwined all over his body. Boom. For a moment, the poisonous scorpion couldn't react at all, and felt something hitting his chest, as well as an extremely hot flame. It's so hard. Seeing the figure of the poisonous scorpion being knocked away by his own head, Anzhe rubbed his aching head, and decided to use this move less in the future. The surface of the scorpion has a hard head armor, and the head armor on the body of the poisonous scorpion injected with the Quirks strengthening potion is really like a steel armor. Anzhe attacked with the sword horns that hit his head, which fully interpreted the meaning of the word head iron. Kill you. I'm going to kill you. The poisonous scorpion stood up with Chen, let out a scream of pain, and kept patting his chest with his giant pincers. Because of the burning dragon flame, its high temperature stimulated every nerve of the poisonous scorpion, the pain made him completely unbearable, and he almost fell into madness. The power of the steel wrist. The power of armor. Anzhe buffed himself one after another, and rushed towards the poisonous scorpion, not giving him time to breathe. Seeing this, the poisonous scorpion didn't care how to slap its chest, the inextinguishable flame stabbed fiercely with its giant pincers. Be careful, wizard, his pincers are poisonous. The empty ghost soul called Anzhe's hero's name to remind him that he didn't carry any weapons in the battle just now, and he was at a very disadvantage when fighting with bare hands. Understood. Anzhe created with one hand, although it is customary to create with both hands, only some emergency measures will be taken in emergency situations. The shape of ice. Holy sword of ice. Fortunately, with Gray's experience enough proficiency, Anzhe, who was born in the cold, can easily create an ice sword with one hand. Keng Dong. The ice sword blocked the giant tongs. Not only that, but the magic power of the extreme ice continued to spread and freeze the surface of the giant tongs. With the ability of the ice holy sword, the opponent who is attacked will be frozen. This is the situation of the poisonous scorpion now. His pair of giant pincers are restrained by the ice holy sword, and at the same time they are frozen and unable to move. But the distortion on the poisonous scorpion's face eased instead. The flames burning in his chest, the pain was also relieved by the freezing air. One cold and one hot, giving birth to a trance-like sense of comfort. But now in the middle of a battle, this little distraction is enough to drag his situation to death. Tianlong's hook claw. Anzhe seized this opportunity, wrapping the magic power of Gale around her feet. Although it is a hook claw, but based on the human body shape, legs are used instead of hook claws. Anzhe jumped high and kicked upwards, kicking the scorpion's jaw into the air. Immediately afterwards, the left and right legs switched continuously, and the magic power of the blast also entangled accordingly. Somersault kick. The poisonous scorpion, completely unable to resist, was kicked far away, raising a cloud of dust. The flames of the fire dragon. This time, Anzhe made up the knife in time, and his hands were on fire. He merged the fire dragon flames in his left and right hands to form a huge fireball. Throw it at the scorpion. Ah! The poisonous scorpion wrapped in the fireball burst into piercing screams, as well as the smell of roasted scorpion meat. After a while, the flames dissipated. Because there is only a piece of scorched black soil, the poisonous scorpion has been burned to the ground. What happened to the North American shorthair? After throwing Wang Yan out, Anzhe ignored the poisonous scorpion and walked up to the injured North American shorthair cat. At this moment, her eyes were closed tightly, and even in a coma, her face was distorted in pain, and her face was pale and purple. Yes, sorry, it's all my fault. Next to him, Sirius, who was crying into tears, intermittently told what happened. The cause was that the poisonous scorpion attacked her with its tail, and she inhaled the poisonous gas, causing her to become dizzy and unable to dodge at all. At this time, the North American shorthair cat stepped forward and blocked the attack. She herself was bound by the scorpion tail, and then lifted it high. The North American shorthair cat wanted to struggle, but it also had no strength because of the poisonous gas. Then the poisonous needle of the scorpion tail pierced her chest. The wound has been urgently stopped bleeding with cloth, but the problem is the toxin in the poisonous needle. It's better to say that this toxin is the real deadly existence. So that's it, poisoning. Anzhe looked down at the North American shorthair cat lying flat, and murmured softly, "Sorry, I was so abrupt." Anzhe reached out and tore off the front shirt of the North American shorthair cat, and then tore off the cloth wrapped around it to stop the bleeding. "Wait, mage, what are you doing?" The Mandalay cat suddenly let out an exclamation, and Sirius was also frightened by Anzhe's actions. The two of them, Milan Kamui and Kongui Sol, looked away in embarrassment and listened to the follow-up. "Believe me." Anzhe didn't say much, and put his hand on the North American shorthair cat's wound. A green magic power of life was released in his palm. Healing magic. Among the Dragon Slayer magic in the sky, there is this healing magic that is used for detoxification, antipyretic, and wound healing. This can be regarded as one of the few healing magics in Fairy Tail. The determination of Anzhe's tone stopped Mandalay Cat's actions that he wanted to stop. The next moment, her eyes were attracted by a magical scene. The wound on the North American shorthair cat's chest was bloody, but at this moment, it seemed like a new sprout was born, and new tender granulation sprouted. The wound was filled and healed step by step. The North American shorthair cat's tightly wrinkled face slowly relaxed, and its complexion returned from pale purple to normal skin color. Call. Anzhe breathed out a little tiredly. Healing magic consumes a lot of mana, but fortunately it is effective. The scorpion's toxin and the piercing wounds were all healed. And Sirius, who saw all this in his eyes, had a doubt in his heart. That is my own boss, Anzhe. What is his quirks? Flames, strong winds, lightning, and dragon transformation can all be explained by communication, but how can we explain the current healing methods? 057 Nomu Legion, kill the winged man again. On shelves in the early morning of December 3rd, please order first. Ahem, in a hurry, I'm a little rude. After the treatment was over, Anzhe coughed twice, stood up and turned his head aside like Kongui Sol and Jungle Kamui. See no evil, although just now, when I tore the clothes of the North American shorthair cat in order to touch the wound, it was already in my eyes. The figure is still pretty good. Ahem, ho ho. Suddenly, a deep roar like an animal came from the direction of the research room. Getting closer. Hurry up and get the North American shorthair out of here. Anzhe waved his hand, guessing that it might be Nomu from the training tank, and chased after him. Good. Without further ado, Sirius suppressed the doubts that had arisen in his heart, dragged the comatose North American shorthair cat with the Mandalay cat, and then left directly towards the outside of the factory. This is not a TV drama. You go, no, if you want to go, go together, this kind of bloody scene. They knew they would not be able to provide combat power if they kept them, and with the comatose North American shorthair cat, the three of them would only be a drag. After the three figures disappeared from sight, villains also appeared in sight of Anzhe and others. What monsters are these? Kongui Sol showed surprise. Even though he has been in the workplace for more than 10 years, he has never seen this kind of villains. The human form is extremely weird, and the exposed brain is full of weirdness, as if it has no wisdom at all, and it keeps rushing forward. There are more than 20 in number. Legion of Nomu. Roar. When they saw Anzhe, Kongui Sol, and Jungle Kamui, they all roared excitedly. The roar was deafening and resounded through the sky. It was like the surprise of a hunter discovering his prey. Are you treating us as prey? Hee hee. Anzhe's eyes flickered, he didn't know what he was thinking, and stepped forward. He looked up and saw the moon in the sky from the hole, and a thought arose in his mind. The group of Nomu in front of him, although there were a lot of them, strangely did not bring him too much oppression. Anzhe trusts her intuition very much, especially the intuition after transforming into a dragon's physique. These Nomu are flawed, not to mention the Nomu who attacked USJ in our English plot, even the three-headed Nomu who attacked Hosu later. Kongui Sol teacher, Milan Shenwei, you two retreat too, leave this place to me. Kongui Sol just wanted to say that his avatar, Quirks, is very suitable for the current situation. But seeing Anzhe turned his head and opened his mouth slightly, he didn't say aloud, but he could understand what he said through the shape of his mouth. Just like when treating North American shorthair cats before. Believe me, let's go. Kongui Sol patted the stunned Jungle Kamui. He chose to believe in Anzhe, the student who had been trained by him for 10 days, and even more so in the professional hero of the wizard. Then let's do it. Anzhe looked at the Nomu who rushed to the front. His whole body was purple, and his body was covered with viscous liquid like snot. In the blink of an eye, it had already approached and swung its fist at Anzhe, which was still covered with a layer of purple liquid. Iron wall. Anzhe looked calm, squatted down and slapped the magic power on the ground, and a yellow earth-colored magic circle appeared. Suddenly, in front of him, the earth rose into a rocky wall. The purple Nomu's fist hit the steel-like rock wall, making a sharp corrosion sound. Looks like this Nomu is a corrupted kind of Quirks. Hearing this voice, Anzhe was convinced of his own judgment, and instead of fighting directly, he flapped his wings and flew into the air. Then, the rest of the nomu also ran over, and gathered right under Anzhe like a zombie siege. The way they waved their arms and roared, they looked more and more like dead and irrational zombies. It seems that among them, those who don't have the ability to fly can't do anything to Anzhe who is in the sky. Wind blade. Suddenly, looking at Anzhe of the Nomu Legion below, he raised his head abruptly. In sight, two blades that looked like invisible people cut the air and attacked Anzhe. Sky Dragon's wing strike. Anzhe wraps his arms around the magic gust, flaps left and right like wings, and counteracts the incoming wind blades and bounces them away. Winged man. Isn't he dead? Anzhe sighed in amazement, the same two figures flying in the air as before, the winged man whose wings were chopped off by him with the ice-shaped battle axe. At this moment, his wings, which should have been broken, grew new ones. The colors are different. The milky white of the new tender buds corresponds to the grayish white of the other side with some stains on the wings. Injected with the Quirks booster. Yeah, I didn't want to use it at first, now let you pay the price and be buried with me. The winged man showed a sneer, and his expression was full of madness after knowing death. Flapping his wings, he rushed to Anzhe, and the battle in the sky was imminent. Since I can kill you once, I can kill you a second time. Anzhe waved his fist of gas flames, and also rushed to hit the winged man. But suddenly the figure of the winged man dissipated and turned into a pile of scattered feathers, landing around Anzhe. Can you strengthen Quirks to this extent? Anzhe exclaimed, without the slightest panic, because he had already foreseen it. Behind his back, a feather materialized and kicked Anzhe. But Anzhe turned around quickly, caught the kick with his arm, and remained motionless. With the power of the armor, he felt that his defense was comparable to the hardened skin of the iron shark. Seeing this, the winged man secretly felt bad, and disappeared again and turned into a piece of many feathers. The roar of the fire dragon. But Anzhe wouldn't give the winged man another chance to sneak attack, he opened his mouth and took a deep breath, and the magic power in his body was running. A fiery red magic circle appeared in front of the mouth, and the flame wave that burned everything swept across the many feathers. On the way, the tsunami-like flames were so hot that they melted everything around them. The sky wall above the head also fell off unbearably, turning into countless fine rubble, until the residue. This time, the abandoned factory looked like an open shed, and all the moonlight outside was pouring in. Anzhe looked down. The air above was extremely hot, so it was obvious where the winged man would flee to. Below, the winged man half kneeled on the ground and spit out a mouthful of blood. Those feathers were his body. The destruction of the feathers will also cause certain damage to his body. If it wasn't for just a piece of feather falling to the ground, he would have died by the roar of Anzhe's fire dragon by now. However, the two wings on his back were completely scorched. Once again, the wings were chopped off by Anzhe. But this time the price is a pair of wings. 058 The Nomu Legion is destroyed, and the winged man is playing cool. On shelves in the early morning of December 3rd, please order first. 6 women who are known for their large body parts. More. 859. 215. 286. After defeating the winged man, Anzhe didn't make up the knife again, but looked at the Nomu army that had been roaring below. It's time to get rid of you noisy guys. The corner of Anzhe's mouth hooked into a smile, his fists clenched tightly, and the magic power in his body surged wildly. It turned into countless thunder and lightning, restless and crackling, surrounding the whole body. The electric current made the black hair stand up statically again, and in the depths of a pair of eyes, there were dancing electric light and hot lava. His figure, also fanned by the dragon wings behind him, was suspended in the higher sky, and the hem of his clothes swayed lightly with the wind. Is Anzhe going too? Kongui Soul and others outside the factory all looked up at Anzhe in surprise. He was shrouded in a deep golden light, protected by materialized electric current, with a kind of indescribable hockey. Even people can ignore his youth, which is only in the second year of junior high school, adding a kind of masculine maturity. The dark clouds in the sky gathered suddenly, covering the abandoned factory, blocking the moonlight and the moon together. Now, Kongui Soul is more convinced of his conjecture. Only he knew that in that Duoguchang seaside park, the endless oppression of thunderclouds filled the sky, and he couldn't even imagine the scene after the thunder and lightning fell. No wonder. Anzhe looked at the Nomu Legion with a look of contempt as an ant, and he didn't take it to heart at all. Absolute crushing in terms of strength. No one would take the other person seriously. Drink. Anzhe shouted angrily with a cold expression, raised his arms to the sky, and all the lightning on his body also gathered, turning into a flash of lightning and rushing into the sky. Countless dark clouds, in the blink of an eye, turned into countless thunderclouds. Thunder overwhelms the raging waves. Anzhe finally dropped this thunder magic. The huge golden magic circle opened. There were countless crackling thunders, endless golden lightning that tore through the space, and there seemed to be terrifying cracks in the sky. Thunder and lightning fell, as if the god of thunder was completely angry, the deafening thunder echoed throughout the world. No one will know how many thunderbolts fell in this gathered thundercloud. Destruction. The entire world, which should have been a dark night, was filled with dazzling light at this moment, making the people watching around couldn't even open their eyes, and could only close their eyes and cover their ears. Boom. Boom. The ultimate energy, all landed below Anzhe, the gathered Nomu Legion. Destroying everything, the surrounding walls, factory machines, and old conveyor belts were all overturned and danced wildly in the air under this unimaginable prestige. Thick smoke and dust rose and spread, covering the sky and the sun. After a long time, the smoke and dust dissipated, and the lightning disappeared. Kong Guihan and the others reluctantly opened their eyes, and immediately froze like stone sculptures. They were all shocked by the horrifying scene in front of them. Abandoned factories turned into real ruins. An abyss and ravine spanning dozens of meters long completely divides the abandoned factory into 3 areas, the wreckage on the left and right sides, and the barren grass in the area where lightning fell in the middle. The scorched marks of thunder and lightning trailed a long, pungent smell, which was disgusting. Lightning rays came out of it from time to time, and a raging fire was even ignited inside, exuding high temperature. Gulu. The sound of several people swallowing saliva, accompanied by something making a sound like breaking glass, is Sangwon. The 3 views they have been born up to now have all collapsed at this moment. A human being has actually taken charge of the natural elements of heaven and earth. Take charge, not just issued. This kind of prestige gives people a sense of visual impact, which is too profound and shocking. Even if it is all might, the ultimate strength, it is difficult to do this. Anzhe fell from the sky, looked at the ignited flames, opened his mouth and inhaled, and recovered some magic power along the way. The magic used this night also exhausted the magic power in his body. Huh, you didn't die, so you're lucky, right? Anzhe glanced around for a week, and the Nomu army in the center of the thunder and lightning fell, and all the bones had already disappeared. However, he saw the miserable figure of the winged man, who collapsed powerlessly and the electric light crackled on his body. Although he is at the edge of the attack range, it is also possible that the contact with the ground has induced some electricity and his own resistance. After all, he has been injected with the Quirks strengthening potion, and his physical fitness has also been strengthened in all aspects. Anzhe walked up to the winged man, kicked his body, and said commandingly, "Are you still alive? If you don't say anything, I'll make you a barbecue." I'm telling you, don't be too deceptive. The winged man opened his eyes, knowing that he couldn't pretend to be dead. But he said the hardest words in the most cowardly tone, which is really funny. Then what can you do if I deceive people too much? Anzhe said with a smile. Suddenly, the air froze, and the winged man was completely speechless. Even if you can be majestic now, sooner or later you will be killed by other people of our evolution. Others. Anzhe took out the USB flash drive from his pocket, and said calmly, "I killed all those researchers in white coats, and took away all your data, and even if I came to support you in a big way, no one seemed to come kill me." Looking at the familiar USB flash drive, the winged man's expression froze. In his heart, he could only yell at that B*****************, Ape Yamamoto, and agreed to inject Quirks strengthening potion in an emergency to fight for his life. What Ape Yamamoto was wearing was not a researcher's white coat. Anzhe's words meant that he had obviously touched the guy with the orangutan head before. So angry. Thinking that he would die from the side effects of the Quirks enhancement later, the winged man became even more angry. By the way, you should know that Iron Shark is not dead, so you found your hiding place, right? Anzhe changed the subject, and he planned to let the winged man in front of him go. It's not a merciful kindness, but he wants to know more information about the evolutionary organization. A living person always knows more than a dead person. Although this sentence is equivalent to nonsense when people are killed. So, the winged man replied weakly. The reason why he didn't die can be said to be all caused by me. Do you think I have a way to prevent you from dying from the Quirks enhanced potion? Quote. Seeing the expression of the winged man from ashen ashes to wide-eyed eyes, he couldn't believe it, and found hope of life. Anzhe had a sudden thought. If he said that there was nothing he could do, what kind of desperate expression would the man with wings turn into? Interesting to think about. But Anzhe still didn't do this, and after the questioning, he still wanted to find the guy named Yamamoto Ape. Surrender. Surrender and surrender. The winged man nodded frantically like a tireless machine, leaving Anzhe speechless. It's a pity that you were so stubborn just now. I'm sorry, I just thought I was going to die, and I was playing cool. Anzhe. List testimonials. Please read some of my words from the author. If I remember correctly, this book was released on November 15th, and it will be on the shelves in the early morning of December 3rd after December 2nd today. There are 18 days in total, and to be honest, the speed is a bit slow. In fact, it is my own problem. I feel that the data is too bad, and there is no one in the comment area. I want to cut it like a pool of stagnant water. But in the end I gave up this idea and wrote to the current shelf. I am not a newcomer author. I have been at the starting point for 2 years, and Lifeilu has also been writing for almost a year, writing 2 books. This is the 3rd book. By the way, one of the first 2 books is also my English fan. Sensational words, I don't want to say too much. After all, everyone knows that in order to make money in writing a book, the author has to make a living. This is my English, and what I wrote is a bit too deviant and too original. Until it's on the shelves, it's still an original plot. Maybe it's my confidence in myself and my confidence in studying my English comics, and I thought of a lot of original plots. However, as far as the data is concerned, it is not as good as my first book, which followed my English plot step by step. Indeed, I also summed up my own problems, and I promise that the next plot will speed up and enter the right track. Of course, I will still add a lot of original creations to match the plot, and promise to bring a more exciting and rich my English world to readers. You don't have to worry whether I will become an eunuch as I write. Absolutely not. Because Woying is my best fan, it is no exaggeration to say that all the plots of Woying's comics can be recited by opening my mouth. In terms of plot, readers don't have to worry, as long as they can subscribe, so let's talk about subscription. In terms of subscription, the author's manuscript fee is completely composed of how many people subscribe, so I sincerely ask readers who have caught up with the VIP on the shelf to continue to support subscribing to my VIP chapter. My collection is only 3,000 now. My English is originally a minority, and not many people see it. This collection is also expected. I have always been worried that readers will not read it after I put it on the shelves, or that the book will be left in the cold palace halfway. Here I say my goals. First order 500. This is my goal. As long as there are 500 subscriptions and the subscription to subscription ratio can reach 6:1, I will definitely keep writing until my English world is finished. It will be on the shelves tonight, and I will post 5 chapters at the beginning. If there are 500 subscriptions, I will post 5 more chapters. In terms of follow-up updates and time, I can't stabilize the time, sooner or later, but it must be updated. And the number is updated every day, with 3 shifts as the base, and normal 4 shifts or 5 shifts. Above. Finally, here, please subscribe. Please subscribe, please subscribe, please subscribe. Your subscription is the biggest motivation for me to write down, and I would like to say this to all readers who can subscribe. Many thanks. Grateful. 060 Anzhe, who is in school, send a proposition. Second update, please subscribe. The warbler flies in the grassland in February, and the willows are drunk with spring smoke when they blow the dike. The sun is just right. The sky is blue, as if it has just been washed with clean water. Anzhe took a deep breath, and could smell the faint spring fragrance in the air. In sight, several uniformed junior high school students on the side of the road went to school laughing and laughing. Anzhe has an inexplicable sense of trance, not the unreal trance that he just crossed, but some of the junior high school students found Anzhe, quickly called their friends, looked at him, and took out their mobile phones to take pictures. You're famous. Anzhe shook his head emotionally. His current popularity can be reflected from this scene. More directly, his popularity points have increased from 7,000 points to 20,000 points. If Jiro Kyoka hadn't emailed him, he would have almost forgotten that he was a student and had to go to school. The point is that even the school acquiesced in his behavior of not going to class. Even when Anzhe didn't come to take the final exam at the end of the second year of junior high school, he passed all the subjects, so he didn't need to repeat the grade until the current third year of junior high school. Fame rises. Back to this point again, the school leaders flattered Anzhe and wanted to use him to publicize. Parents, are you still hesitating which junior high school your child will go to after graduating from primary school? In our school, students in the second grade of junior high school become professional heroes. Don't hesitate, come to our school directly, your children can do the same. Pretty much that propaganda. Anzhe shook her head and continued on her way to school on foot. It is now February, and there is still 1 year before the heroic plot begins. If the inheritance of OFA has not changed, Green Valley Izuku, he feels that he should meet this green algae boy soon. Jingle jingle. The class bell rang, and the students came to the classroom one after another. As a public junior high school, it is very strict about absenteeism sooner or later, except for Anzhe. Jiro Kyoka glanced at the seat behind him. It was empty. The seat that should have been Anzhe was not there. It's not a coincidence that Anzhe didn't come to school in terms of seating arrangements when she was promoted to the third grade, so she was naturally seated in the last row next to the window. What changed was Jiro Kyoka, who was seated in the second to last row. Sure enough, after this guy became a hero, he stopped coming to class at all. Quote. Jiro Kyoka pursed her cherry lips, her little eyes were teary, and she looked aggrieved. She also knew that everyone would be the same as Anzhe, not going to class, but focusing on Hiro's career. She shouldn't have hoped. The roll call will begin next. The teacher on the podium, as always, took out the roll call and began to roll the roll one by one. Jiro Kyoka, arrive, Anzhe. At the end of the roll call, the teacher symbolically said Anzhe's name, and he was ready to go straight to class. After all, how could this student who became a professional hero still come to class? However, at this moment, a figure appeared at the classroom door. Quote exclamation mark quote. It's not loud, but it's Anzhe's voice. It wasn't loud, but the sound resounded throughout the classroom. The voice was not loud, and it reached the ears of every student, and all of them were surprised. Although I'm late, you don't have to look at me like this. Anzhe looked at the eyes of the class and smiled, and after nodding with the teacher, he walked into his seat in the classroom. There is only one vacant seat. Then, the students in the class immediately exploded, took pictures with their mobile phones, and whispered. Anzhe came to school. I'm going to tweet and show off. I can't recognize it at all. It doesn't feel like we are the same age. You're not talking nonsense. He became a professional hero. How about you? Anzhe, the protagonist of the topic, shook his head helplessly. It feels good to be noticed for a while, but it gets a little boring after a long time. Kyoka, long time no see. Walking to the row in front of the seat, looking at Jiro Kyoka who was staring at him closely, blinking his eyes again and again, Anzhe greeted softly. But there was no response, rather Jiro Kyoka was stunned with disbelief on his face. Have you got a fever? Why do you feel dazed? Anzhe stretched out his hand amusedly, and put it on Jiro Kyoka's cold forehead. The temperature was normal. But soon the temperature is not normal. Class is over. Hurry back to your seat. Jiro Kyoka lowered his head, his tone flustered. Anzhe smiled slightly, and continued to sit in her seat. And Jiro Kyoka put his hands on his forehead. It was extremely hot, because of Anzhe's intimate action just now. Ahem, be quiet, class is on. The teacher scolded, and the whole class fell silent immediately, but everyone's eyes were fixed on the last row of seats by the window. In Anzhe's opinion, studying is still very important. Anyway, school ends at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Compared with the student days before time travel, I don't know how much earlier. The teacher is teaching mathematics, and the noise is quite unique, with the dignity of a teacher from the last century. Who will come up to do this topic? He gave a topic, but no one raised their hands for a while, or the attention was attracted by Anzhe. Anzhe glanced at the blackboard, although he hasn't come to school for a long time, but he has a solid foundation of previous life knowledge. After a little calculation, he came up with a result in his mind, and seeing that no one answered for a long time, he raised his hand. Anzhe, do you want to come up to do the problem? The teacher looked confused and trembled when he saw Anzhe nodded and walked up to the podium. Here is the chalk. He pulled out a new piece of chalk and handed it to Anzhe with both hands. Honorific. Anzhe was also taken aback. He was a teacher, but he used honorific words to himself, and there was this worship-like behavior. In short, Anzhe didn't think too much, answered the questions on the blackboard, and then returned to his seat after the teacher gave the correct answer. Jingle jingle, it's noon. When the bell for the last class in the morning rang, Anzhe stretched lazily, not paying attention to the gazes around her. It's noon, let's have a meal together. Looking at Anzhe, who was holding a bento to invite him, Jiro Kyoka couldn't react for a while. She knew that Anzhe didn't have the habit of making bento. When she was in school, she bought some bread at noon. Whim, certainly not. As a woman's intuition, Jiro Kyoka felt that the bento in Anzhe's hand was definitely made by a woman. Finally, Jiro Kyoka agreed to Anzhe's invitation, and the two walked to the rooftop together. Opening the bento, Jiro was surprised by the richness of Anzhe's tongue. It's too rich, and the combination of meat and vegetables seems to be very reasonable, carefully prepared. This made Jiro Kyoka's pink cheeks slightly puffed up, feeling like cheating behind his own back. Ahem, very angry anyway. Hold back. Take a deep breath, Shin. Girls want yuga, to be reserved, not to be angry. Jiro Kyoka was very concerned about the little molars, but asked casually, Anzhe, who made your bento? Hearing this, Anzhe froze when he moved his chopsticks, and there seemed to be a murderous aura coming from somewhere. There is no doubt that this is a proposition. 061 The best way to solve the problem of sending propositions is to talk in the bar. The third update, please subscribe. 6 women who are known for their large body parts. More. 180. 45. 60. Why send a title? It seems very ordinary, but as long as the answer is wrong, it may cause problems such as hatchets. Especially in the scene on the rooftop now, a certain Cheng brother who died early, a profound lesson. Unwise. Anzhe looked down at his rich bento, forgetting that his childhood friend Kyoka would definitely notice this. How should I answer at this time? Anzhe's mind was spinning rapidly. Auntie Longju did it. Jiro Kyoka also knows Anzhe's aunt. Of course, the two have never met and are not familiar with each other. They only know the name. In addition, there is a second answer. That's right, the reason I was late today was to make lunch. I always feel that answering this way will be difficult to explain later. So, the choice is already clear. Of course it is, to be honest. For things like lies, one always needs to be made up for by another area, and the more you say later, the more you say the flaws. Then only one needle is needed to pierce it, and then it will explode in an instant, and it will spiral directly into the sky on the spot. Anzhe didn't want to lie. In fact, there is nothing to be guilty of. Secrets will only make Kyoka suspicious. If you say it openly, there should be no problem, right? Anzhe replied. 937 My parents left behind a maid, her name is Baruch, who now takes care of my daily life and food every day. There was a silence. After a while, Jiro Kyoka, burying his head in his folded legs, turned his head and pulled off Anzhe's clothes. This weekend. I want to visit your house. Anzhe smiled, inexplicably felt that Kyoka looked at her from the side, feeling aggrieved, very cute. Okay, that day I asked Beloved to cook more dishes to entertain you. Anzhe didn't panic at all, he didn't do anything, but Jiro Kyoka came to his house for the first time. Although the two were childhood sweethearts, Anzhe basically went to Jiro Kyoka's house to be entertained by her parents, and after the original owner of the body shut down, Jiro Kyoka had no chance to come to his house. After eating the bento, there was still some time before the afternoon class, the two sat on the ground and looked at the white clouds in the sky. It always feels like you've changed, Anzhe. Jiro Kyoka sighed. Becoming stranger. Although the current Anzhe is taller and more handsome, and after becoming a professional hero, he is not as mature as a student, but his attractiveness is definitely so that no one can leave his eyes. But for Jiro Kyoka, she is afraid that Anzhe is getting farther and farther away from her, and she has no chance to catch up. It's just me stepping into a new field. Speaking of which, Kyoka, don't you also want to be a hero? Anzhe sensed the girl's thoughts, and said softly, when we graduate from junior high school, we will go to Hero S together, wouldn't it be nice to step into the realm of Hero S too? Hey, Anzhe, do you want to go to Yingying school too? Jiro Kyoka was startled, and then moved closer to him excitedly, his beautiful eyes flashed with splendor. Of course, I will definitely go to high school for compulsory education. Although I have become a Hero S, I still want to train the most famous heroes of Hero S. Being too close, he smelled the fragrance of the girl's body, and Anzhe turned his head away with a hot face. Looks like I'm going to work hard, and I must pass the entrance examination of Yingying. Immediately, Jiro Kyoka was full of energy and shouted to the sky. Really youthful, Anzhe was also infected in his heart, and he enjoyed the atmosphere very much. Dot 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 dot. Time goes back to the night when the evolutionist stronghold was defeated. In a quiet bar, a black vortex appeared out of thin air, and Kurogiri and Yamamoto Ape walked out of it. Kurogiri, who is this orangutan-like guy? A man with disheveled silver hair, one hand on his face, and 4 hands each on his shoulder and arm grabbed him. With his strange appearance, it is estimated that children will be frightened and cry on the spot when they see it. Shigaraki, he is one of the core members of the evolutionist organization that cooperates with the teacher. Because the stronghold was breached by the professional hero, the teacher asked me to save him. Kurogiri said the name of the silver-haired man, AJDF, currently the apparent leader of the League of Villains. Tamura Shigaraki. My name is Yamamoto Ape, a scientist from evolution. The rescued Yamamoto monkey sat on the bar chair by himself, with a proud expression, completely different from the previous panic. Ah, the stronghold was destroyed by the professional hero, isn't it a waste? Tamura Shigaraki clicked his lips in displeasure, and ordered, Kurogiri, let him go back. Immediately, Ape Yamamoto panicked, and said with a correct attitude, it's just that one of the strongholds has been destroyed, and there are still many strongholds all over the country. Your teacher's physical condition, as well as the production of nomu, all need our help. The meaning of his words is obvious, explaining his own value, otherwise he really feels that he will be kicked out by the strange Tamura Shigaraki in front of him. Suddenly, a male voice came from the TV set in the corner of the bar. Sigenmu, don't be rude, he does have some effect on our plan. Understood, teacher. The teacher that Tamura Shigaraki called respectfully, the identity of that person is self-evident. It is Afola. For one, Kurogiri, help him with all your strength during this time and rebuild a new research base. AFO's voice came from the TV again. Yes, quote. Kurogiri bowed respectfully to the TV, and then a young voice came out from inside. Ape Yamamoto, the stronghold was found to be destroyed, and the information on the Quirks strengthening potion also fell into the police. After hearing this voice, Yamamoto jumped off the chair, knelt down and kowtowed as if seeing Lord Yama. My lord, please spare my life. Well doctor, give him one last chance. The person called a doctor by AFO is the immediate boss of Ape Yamamoto. He is also responsible for the recovery of AFO's seriously injured body after the previous war. HMPH, until the new stronghold is built, you are not allowed to carry out any entertainment activities. Yes, I will definitely devote myself to it. Yamamoto Ape heaved a sigh of relief, his forehead was covered with tense cold sweat, narrowly escaped death. Otherwise, his immediate superior, the doctor, will punish him, and he will definitely understand the meaning of the words life is worse than death. AFO's voice came again. Kurogiri, report to Anzhe, mage, all the abilities this boy has shown. My lord, so far, Anzhe has demonstrated 8 abilities: water flow, flame, dragon transformation, flight, lightning, ice, suspected invisibility, and airflow manipulation. Kurogiri immediately told all the information about Anzhe. Interesting, with so many different abilities, is it possible? AFO's murmured voice contained great curiosity and speculation. He was thinking about a possibility. In order to confirm his guess, the AFO ordered, Kurogiri, after the new base is built, you go and bring Anzhe over here as a guest. Clear. 062 Encounter with Green Valley Izuku, Trigger Side Mission. 4th update, please subscribe. The bell rang for the afternoon class, and Anzhe and Jiro Kyoka went back to continue the class. The short campus time passed quietly, and it was time to leave school in a blink of an eye. Anzhe was going to his office, greeted Jiro Kyoka and left alone. On the street, with a casual glance, Anzhe saw a young man with dark green hair sticking his hands in front of a glass cabinet in a handicraft store. It's a bit of a coincidence. No, that's what happened in Japan. Anzhe watched the boy staring at the figure of All Might in the glass cabinet, coupled with the green hair color, guessed the boy's identity. Green Valley Izuku. Speaking of which, if I remember correctly, Izuku Midoriya studied at Aldera Junior High. Although it is not the same junior high school as Anzhe, the school is not too far away, and it is the time after school. It wasn't really a surprise to meet by chance. Yo, that boy over there. Anzhe approached, the boy was still staring at All Might's figurine. The boy with the green algae head over there. Anzhe walked up to him helplessly, and his voice increased a few decibels. Hearing these clearly directional words, the boy finally turned his head around, and with a shy personality, he asked a little cautiously. May I ask what you want from me? Anzhe didn't answer for a moment, the boy's appearance had already confirmed to him that the boy was Izuku from Green Valley. However, there was an obvious bruise on his freckled face, as if he had been beaten. Your name? Anzhe asked the question again. My name is Green Valley Izuku. Hesitating for a few seconds, the boy answered the question. Suddenly, Green Valley Izuku raised his head and looked at Anzhe with excitement in his eyes. Well, are you no 128's professional hero, Magister Anzhe? Green Valley Izuku said in a hasty tone, and took out a scorched black notebook. On the cover was vaguely written, Future-oriented analysis of hero is a few words. From getting the license to now, from September to now February, the new year has passed. The Flamingo Incident, the live broadcast of the license exam, the Iron Shark Incident, and the destruction of the villain's organization stronghold. These deeds have greatly increased Anzhe's reputation. In the Hero's billboard list, which is selected twice a year, Anzhe's ranking has risen to 128. Yes, can you lend me this notebook of yours? Anzhe readily admitted, causing Green Valley to exclaim in admiration, and hastily handed the notebook to Anzhe respectfully. You please. This person, who was a third-year junior high school student with himself, and obtained a license to become a professional hero in the second junior high school, besides All Might, Anzhe is the second person Izuku admires in Green Valley. Anzhe took the notebook and flipped through it roughly. It recorded the detailed information of many professional heroes, as well as some of his own thoughts, which is enough to show his seriousness. But the scorched notebook and the traces of the pages seemed to have been soaked and dried by water, reminded Anzhe of the time when Green Valley was first bullied by Bakugo Katsuki. Speaking of which, even Green Valley Izuku has met, so the plot is about to begin. Branch line. Help Green Valley Izuku. Task reward, B level. Close black lens bracket. The cold mechanical sound of the system suddenly sounded in his ears, which made Anzhe slightly startled. Help Green Valley Izuku. What kind of help do you mean? Shouldn't he be replaced by All Might to train Green Valley Izuku? The system did not respond, and Anzhe also showed a pensive expression. Excuse me, is there any problem? Green Valley Izuku asked cautiously, interrupting Anzhe's meditation. From his point of view, Anzhe seemed to be staring at his notebook, making him wonder if he had made a mistake in his notes. That's right, it's pretty good, keep working hard. Green Valley Izuku's loud response, and Anzhe's encouragement and praise lifted his spirits. Here, I want to ask what happened to the wound on your face. Anzhe returned the notebook and changed the subject. Since the system didn't clearly give how to help Green Valley Izuku, he had to figure it out on his own, and the wound on Green Valley's face should be a breakthrough. I accidentally fell when I was going down the stairs. Green Valley Izuku hesitated for a long time before holding back this question and answer. There is a little trick when asking questions. You can throw out a question at will to slightly lower the vigilance of the other party, and then go straight to the point and ask the key questions you want to know. In this way, it is easier to observe the micro-expression of the person being asked, and confirm whether the other party is concealing or lying. And Green Valley Izuku's flustered expression at the moment is obviously lying. Really? But why do I feel like this injury was beaten by someone? To be honest. Therefore, Green Valley Izuku told the whole story in frustration. 2 days ago, when I filled out my graduation aspirations, Green Valley Izuku mustered up the courage to fill in the same high school as his young tamer Bakugo Katsuki, UA. High school. As a result, he, who was quirkless, was confronted by Bakugo, who had been trying every means to force him to change his graduation aspirations. 0. Seeking flowers. Use blasting to make Green Valley's notebook charred black, and throw it into the pool to make the pages inside have that kind of trace. The bruise on Green Valley's face was the result of being pushed by Bakugo Katsuki on the steps of the teaching building after school yesterday afternoon. For this, dodge Bakugo's Green Valley, which leaves the school straight away as soon as school is over. School bullying. Listening to what Green Valley said, Anzhe had a very bad impression of Bakugo Katsuki, of course not just this incident. In the middle and late stage of my English plot, although Bakugo Katsuki was washed, but what he did in the early stage is a scumbag. It is also because of Green Valley's strong ability to bear in his heart that he survived the bullying on campus. Otherwise, if someone with a weaker heart is bullied by Bakugo like this every day, he may commit suicide due to depression. 0.0. Bakugo Katsuki. Help Midoriya Izuku. Mean in terms of bullying. Anzhe thought to himself, and when he looked up, he saw a man in black clothes with a beige afro and a ferocious face, walking towards the two of them. To be precise, it is walking towards Green Valley Izuku. Say Sao Sao, Sao Sao arrives. Kaka sauce. From Midoriya Izuku's accent and his flustered look, it can be known that it is Bakugo Katsumi who came. Deku, Tsukuju, do you think that if you run away after school, I won't be able to find you? Have I said it many times? It's impossible for quirkless to be admitted to Shangying. Why don't you change your graduation aspirations? For a quirkless like you, the only way to be admitted to Shangying is to believe that you will have quirks in your next life, and then just like a dog, Rua, and jump off the stairs. I'll say it one last time, you are not allowed to take UA. High school, Deku. After Bakugo Katsuki yelled a series of angry words, he reached out to snatch the scorched notebook from Green Valley Izuku's hand. It was something he blasted with quirks a few days ago and threw it into the sink. Green Valley even picked it up, which means that he still has the unrealistic idea of being admitted to the hero. In order to end this idea, Bakugo will completely burn the notebook. At this time, a figure appeared between Izuku and Bakugo Katsuki. It was Anzhe. Hey, do you know that it's very impolite to disturb other people's conversation? Anzhe looked at Bakugo Katsuki, without hiding the coldness and disgust towards him in his eyes. 063 Pain Bakugo Katsuki, mission complete. 5th update, please subscribe. Who are you guys? What's your relationship with Deku? Dare to stand up for him. Bakugo Katsuki yelled angrily at Anzhe, who stood in front of Green Valley. Relationship. A friend you just met. Anzhe's answer made Green Valley Izuku full of gratitude. He has been bullied by Bakugo all the time, and people around him dare not become his friends at all. Another Deku who wants to take UA. High school. Get the hell out of here. Although Bakugo yelled fiercely, he was actually very afraid of Anzhe. I always feel as if I have seen Anzhe somewhere, the very powerful one, but I can't remember where I saw it for a while. Yingying, you don't need to take the exam at all, it's better to say that they will invite me to go. Besides, today I will stand up for Green Valley. Anzhe shook his head amusedly. He wondered if Bakugo had been spoiled since he was a child, because Quirks is very powerful, and everyone around him praised him for being a powerful professional hero. 100 is why he is so unscrupulous and doesn't take anyone seriously. Since you don't go away, I'll beat you too. After saying that, Bakugo punched Anzhe fiercely, and he was still very rational here. I didn't use my own blasting quirks, otherwise I would be punished for violating the regulations, and I couldn't apply for Yingying. But Bakugo's fist, in Anzhe's view, is not dangerous, too slow and weak. It is easy to deal with him, because there is only one word, that is, quick. In an instant, Anzhe came to Bakugo's side as if he disappeared, and kicked Bakugo's stomach hard with a fast and extremely fast roundabout kick. Boom. There was a dull sound like a wooden stick beating the quilt, and Bakugo fell to his knees in pain. Spike. Anzhe's speed is so fast that neither Green Valley Izuku nor Bakugo Katsuki can see clearly. That won't work. I can't even use half the speed. Anzhe looked down indifferently at Bakugo's curled-up body due to pain. He didn't need divine foot or galloping wind, and he even took a lot of force, otherwise Bakugo would not just kneel down. What qualifications do you have to stop Green Valley from chasing your dreams? If it's just because you are stronger than Green Valley, then I, who defeated you now, make you change your graduation aspirations and not apply for Yingying, what will you do? Hearing this, Bakugo Katsuki lowered his head, his face was so gloomy that water dripped out, feeling that his self-esteem had been trampled by Anzhe. I will defeat you. Bakugo Katsuki jerked his head up, stretched out his hand with the roar of the explosion, and used quirks. Anger took over his sanity, and he didn't care about the consequences of using quirks at will. However, freezing in place, Bakugo could only lower his eyelids, looking at the ice cubes that appeared out of nowhere on the ground. The extreme cold, from his feet to his neck, instantly froze him into a statue. Is that all your quirks are? Anzhe intentionally kept Bakugo's hands free from freezing, but the latter was completely silent, unable to secrete even a little sweat. Even my ice can't melt. If you want to defeat me, don't be foolish. Anzhe put his hand in front of Bakugo Katsuki, and the next moment, extremely hot flames appeared on his fist. The flame contained white heat, which made Bakugo shut his eyes for a while. At the same time, I found that the ice on my body seemed to have melted, and I could move myself. So, he hurriedly took 2 steps back, but sat down on the ground without paying attention to his balance. Anzhe put away the flames. Bakugo, who has not grown up now, is really weak and boring. At this moment, Bakugo has been shocked by Anzhe's power. He also remembered where he had seen Anzhe, on the internet, the genius boy who became a professional hero, at the age of the 2nd year of junior high school. In contrast, myself, who is also called a genius by the people around me, is extremely mocking. For the first time, a heavy sense of powerlessness enveloped Bakugo Katsuki's heart. His quirks are like a drop in the ocean before Anzhe, and absolutely can't win. Damn it, roared in his heart, but his body was still weak and unable to move. Boring. Green Valley is gone. Are you being bullied by this level of people? In my opinion, you are much better than him. Anzhe turned around and left, waving his hand to signal Green Valley to follow. Green Valley Izuku is much stronger than you. Much stronger than you. Much stronger. Are you kidding me? I'm not much better than Deku. Hearing Anzhe's comment, Bakugo Katsuki finally moved his body and stood up furiously. 1 year later, Anzhe did not stop, and stretched out a finger, looking at Lugu, who was admitted to Yingying. I hope you can still say this sentence with such confidence. HMPH, whether it's you or Deku, wait for Master Bakugo. 1 year later, I will kill you both. The name of Green Valley seemed to stimulate Bakugo a lot, the frustration was swept away, and the fierce expression returned to Bakugo Katsuki's face. But after finishing speaking, looking at the backs of the 2 people who left, Bakugo could only leave in despair. Anzhe walked under the building of his own office, and Izuku seemed to be trapped in endless memories. He has been following him in a daze. If he hadn't watched him, he would have hit the pole with his head. The task is not completed. Isn't it helping Green Valley to solve Bakugo who bullies him? Coincidentally, Anzhe was also lost in thought. He originally thought that the task was to defeat Bakugo. Believe in today's memory, at least Bakugo will not let Green Valley change his will, or bully him. Anzhe, do you really think that I, the Quirkless, can enter Yingying? Then, Green Valley escaped from the memory kill first, his voice trembling slightly. Anzhe sighed. It's no wonder that Green Valley was so unconfident at the beginning when watching anime in the previous life. Especially when he crossed over, this body is also quirkless but must become the experience memory of Hero S. It is too painful and depressing. That kind of hope is vague, and the pressure of being ridiculed by the people around is too heavy. Green Valley endured it and met All Might, which changed the trajectory of his life. Green Valley, let me give you a word. Feeling moved, Anzhe remembered a line from One Piece, and continued, dreams will never end. As long as you persist, you will definitely be able to become Hero S. Although Anzhe said it nicely, it was actually because he knew that Green Valley would be selected by All Might to be the next successor of QFA without accident. But Green Valley didn't know these 0.2, he was completely moved by Anzhe's words, tears flowed out like a waterfall. Speaking of which, Anzhe has always wondered if the family in Green Valley still has quirks like lacrimal gland max. Anzhe, thank you, I will definitely live up to your expectations. Green Valley Izuku bowed deeply to Anzhe, and then ran away very excitedly. Anzhe, what does it mean to live up to his expectations, isn't it your own dream to be a hero? I said so much just to support it, don't change the concept secretly. At this time, the cold mechanical sound of the system sounded. Congratulations to the host for completing the side mission and winning a B-level lottery. Close black lens bracket. It turns out that the help refers to making Green Valley firm in his determination to pursue his dream. Seeing Green Valley running away, Anzhe shook his head with a smile and walked into his office. 064 Skyscraper, an invitation from the League of Villains. 6th update, please subscribe. Good morning, Director. When Anzhe entered the office, the 5 receptionists stood up and bowed. As his fame and hero-esque commissions grew, he later brought in 2 more. Anzhe nodded, let them continue working, and walked to his office chair. The 5 professional hero-s in the firm other than him seem to be entrusted by hero-s and no one stays in the firm. Anzhe is currently working part-time and has to go to school on weekdays. He usually only takes care of hero-s on weekends. Besides, his current popularity does not need to be completed every day to increase his popularity. Did Baruch go back and prepare dinner? The time for 3 meals a day is fixed, and Anzhe will telepathically notify if something happens, and every day, Baloo will go home to prepare meals according to the fixed time. Today, because I met Green Valley Izuku, I was delayed for some time, and I couldn't go home with Balug. Entering system space. In fact, he came to the office just to inspect it. He just won a B-level lottery today, and he left after the lottery. Use the B-level lottery. Start B-level lottery draw. 09 Congratulations to the host for winning the magical skyscraper of Mistgang in the lottery. At the same time, after the draw is over, Mistgang, our Prince Gerald of the Kingdom of Edris, his experience of using this magic emerged in Anzhe's brain. Open black lens bracket skyscraper, hallucination magic, use hallucinations to affect the opponent's emotions. Close black lens bracket. Mistgang, S-class mage, one of the strongest candidates for fairy tale. Because his real identity is Gerald from another world, Edris, he doesn't want to reveal his true face, and every time he comes to the guild to accept a task, he will use the sleep magic of mist magic Naraku to make others fall asleep. Not wanting to be exposed is one aspect, in fact, his character is very shy, a typical communication barrier. Skyscrapers, the illusion effect of this magic is particularly powerful, but there is no real damage. Speaking of it, Mr. Gang's magic is to use the 5 magic wands behind him. Magic crystals are embedded in the wand, so that he can freely use various magic, such as hypnosis, illusion, and rebound. However, under the transformation of the system, Anzhe does not need a magic wand, and can cast it by consuming magic power. It's not bad, it has enriched another attack method. Anzhe nodded in satisfaction, there are still 2000 points in the lower right corner of his retina. He can even exchange all the remaining basic templates of dragon slaying magic in one go, but it is not necessary, and it will not be of great help to his strength improvement. So Anzhe is still saving, for the long-term goal, to exchange for the brilliance of the fairy and the 3 super magics of fairy tale. Leaving the system space, after the inspection, Anzhe got up and prepared to leave. Jingle jingle. Suddenly, a call reminded me. Anzhe took out his mobile phone, and it showed an unknown number. Advertising. Anzhe has always had the habit of getting through and hanging up even if it is an unknown number that seems to be an obvious scam. Hello, who is it? Anzhe connected the phone, and then the voice on the other side of the phone made his expression even more serious. Wizard Anzhe. Let me introduce myself. We met at the Kawasaki Denki factory a few months ago. Next is Kurogiri from the League of Villains. Anzhe took a deep breath, the visitor was not friendly, he covered his eyes and walked quickly to the rooftop. What do you want to do? Anzhe asked. Although he was a little surprised to contact League of Villains so early, he is not afraid of Tamura Shigaraki, Kurogiri and others, and AFO will make him feel afraid. The mentality is very calm. We don't have any malicious intentions. We just want to invite you to come to our headquarters as a guest of the Alliance. Kurogiri's false words made Anzhe sneer disdainfully. If he really went to the headquarters of their League of Villains, the other party would let him leave. What if I don't go? I heard that your aunt is the number 9 Dragon Rider hero, and her office is also one of the best in Yushi, Jiangzhou, but if at this point in time, a group of villains suddenly attack her office, what about an attack? Threaten. Anzhe's gaze was cold, full of anger and murderous intent. The League of Villains threatened him, Anzhe would never care, but the League of Villains threatened his relatives, which hit Anzhe's weakness. Location. Anzhe asked calmly, all the anger in my heart was suppressed and waited, and then exploded. A smug laugh came from the other end of the phone, and he replied, Shenye District, you must come here on time before 10 o'clock in the evening. By the way, you need someone, you must be alone, otherwise you will. Before Kurogiri could finish speaking, Anzhe hung up the phone directly after hearing the location of the headquarters of the League of Villains. He turned around to leave, only to find that several of his employees were looking at him. Boss, what happened? It's okay, you guys get off work early today, go back and have a good rest. Anzhe took a deep breath and smiled forcefully. When he was on the phone just now, the aura that subconsciously exuded from his body was indeed a bit scary. He then left the office without rushing to the location Kurogiri said. Before 10 o'clock in the evening, it is only almost 6 o'clock now. Back home, Anzhe ate the 497 dinner made of Baloo songs, and filled his stomach to have the strength to fight. Discuss. Baloo has mastered the soil magic of earth diving, and can freely dive into any ground. If the situation is critical, Anzhe can summon Baloo at any time, and then use the magic of earth diving to escape. It's 9 o'clock in the evening. Search for Kano Ward on the map of your mobile phone. It's here. Anzhe came to a private office building, 5 stories high, only the windows on the 3rd floor had dim yellow lights. It's a closed bar and the headquarters of the League of Villains. Anzhe clenched his fist, ready to fight at any moment, and with the other hand he slammed open the iron gate. Entering the room, the lights are dim, only relying on a few candles on the plate to provide a dim light source. Papa. And inside the bar, meeting Anzhe's sight is a sitting silver-haired young man. His body and face were grasped by models of hands, and he looked sickly and weird. In the bar behind him, there was still a man dressed as a bartender, shrouded in black mist. There were only the two of them in the room. Tamura Shigaraki and the Black Mist. League of Villains. This is the biggest villain throughout our plot, and Anzhe collided for the second time. 065 Let's destroy this hypocritical and twisted society together. 7th update, please subscribe. 6 women who are known for their large body parts. More. 425, 106, 142. The headquarters of the League of Villains is similar to a general bar, or it is a bar entirely. But there are no flickering blurred lights, loud music, or crazy dancing crowd. It would be better to say that there are only 2 people in the entire bar. Kurogiri and Tamura Shigaraki. The 2 quietly waited for Anzhe, the guest they invited to visit. So this is the headquarters of your League of Villains. Under the surprised eyes of the 2, Anzhe closed the iron door by the way, sealed his way out, and then walked to the chair in front of the bar and sat down. I thought it would be something more luxurious. Anzhe continued to snap his fingers, and said to Kurogiri, who was dressed as a bartender, "Bartender, serve a cocktail. Minors are not allowed to drink alcohol." Kurogiri was slightly taken aback, not understanding what kind of medicine was sold in Anzhe's gourd. "Ahaha, you League of Villains who are criminals, it's too funny to tell me about the law." Anzhe broke out into a visibly mocking laugh, which made Tamura Shigaraki's face darken, and waved for Kurogiri to do the same. Papa. The applause came again from Tamura Shigaraki, who looked at Anzhe with a calm face, and said, as expected of someone who became a professional hero, at the age of the 2nd year of junior high school, this courage has to be admired. It's not guts, you are facing some young people, will you take them to heart? The corners of Anzhe's mouth raised, without any special disguise, so that Tamura Shigaraki, who was also sitting next to him, could see his sarcasm. Before coming, Anzhe had thought about it carefully. What he is most afraid of is the safety of the people around him, and he has absolute confidence in his own strength. Even if he encounters an AFO with endless means, not to mention absolutely, at least he can escape with certainty. But the villains has been doing some non-frontal confrontation methods throughout the ages, so like Anzhe, he had to be threatened to come here. So Anzhe wanted to prevent the people around him from being threatened again, and the way he came up with was to ridicule as much as possible and completely attract the hatred to him. Maybe a wily and cunning villains won't be affected by Anzhe's taunts, but Tamura Shigaraki at this stage is a giant baby. UB**************** D. How dare you say? Tamura Shigaraki stood up abruptly, scratching his neck frantically with one hand, and stretched out his other hand towards Anzhe. Look, Tamura Shigaraki's agitated reaction hit him right into the trap. The League of Villains is for Tamura Shigaraki the only home, the only safe haven, the only place to justify his existence. And Anzhe's irony and underestimation of the League of Villains itself is challenging Tamura Shigaraki's weakness. Calm down, Shigaraki. Kurogiri had just finished making a cocktail and came over to reassure him. Only then did Tamura Shigaraki stop the movement of his hands, but it turned into 2 hands scratching his neck, and bloodstains soon appeared on his neck. It seemed that only such pain could calm him down. Thanks. Anzhe took the wine glass and smiled politely. The finger that jingled and tapped the surface glass with one hand, a faint fluorescence appeared, and after checking with magic power to confirm that there was nothing wrong with the wine inside, he drank it boldly. Yes, if only the way you invite guests can be as above board as this cocktail. Understood. Kurogiri took the empty wine glass, deeply afraid of Anzhe and the implication of his words. This method is completely unlike what he can do at his age. Without much experience, he has to admit that this is Anzhe's natural talent. In comparison, Tamura Shigaraki is still too young. Kurogiri even recalled a private conversation that AFO asked him later, which made him deeply worried about Tamura Shigaraki. Because AFO wants Anzhe to be his disciple. Then what do you want from me? Anzhe got right into the theme of the falsehood and the snake. He was actually still wondering why the League of Villains would find him. Speaking of which, the only contact between them was when Kurogiri destroyed the evolutionary stronghold a few months ago and rescued Yamamoto Ape in front of Anzhe. Let's look at something first. Tamura Shigaraki finally regained the initiative to speak, looked at the TV in the bar, and then the screen played. At the same time, Anzhe is also observing this TV. Not surprisingly, AFO used this TV to convey his words in the early stage. Will AFO suddenly pop up to talk? But Anzhe guessed wrong. What was shown on the screen was a young child who was bullied on campus in primary school. Shoe cabinets were filled with rubbish, tables were painted with chalk, and school bags were thrown out of windows. Every time after school, a bunch of students would block him outside the school gate and beat and kick him. It's not that the child has no resistance, but the opponent will use quirks with superpowers to easily defeat his resistance. And teachers and passersby are also disappointed with children, the kind of disappointment in which expectations fail. Only the child's hero's parents keep encouraging him. But in the end, the child's hero's parents also died in a hero's event. The images on the screen stopped here. How is it? Anzhe the sorcerer. It took us a lot of effort to collect these images. At this time, Tamura Shigaraki is like a child showing off his toys. Extremely boring. Seeing this video, Anzhe himself didn't notice that his tone was extremely cold, his eyes instantly became sharp, and there was a bone-chilling chill all over his body. Then what do you League of Villains want to express? The screen shown on the TV is exactly what Anzhe Nuo Li Jiao experienced when he was a child. Although the original owner of this body committed suicide and his soul was replaced by Anzhe, the shadow still lingers in the memory of this body, with uncontrollable anger. Hearing Anzhe's question, Tamura Shigaraki opened his hands and said with emotion, "Join us, you also hate this hypocritical and twisted society, right? Let's return society to chaos and give the powerless people the choice. Give forgiveness to sin, and give everyone what they expect." Huh, Anzhe looked confused. What the hell, why does he hate this society? There is also the second half of Tamura Shigaraki's words, he always feels as if he has seen it somewhere. That definitely didn't belong to his own thoughts, and it was very likely that it was the real leader behind the League of Villains. All for 1066 Shape of Ice. Silver World, a foe appears. 8th update, please subscribe. Interesting for you. 6 women who are known for their large body parts. More. 833. 208. 278. Seeing Anzhe's puzzled look, Tamura Shigaraki stood up and raised his hands high and opened them, and said in an intoxicated tone like a cultist, "It seems that you still don't understand. We are the League of Villains. Quote, our goal is to kill All Might as a symbol of peace, to destroy this society that legally suppresses our use of quirks, to establish a new dark order, and to return the world to freedom." So, Anzhe nodded in cooperation with Tamura Shigaraki, but his face still had an expression of none of my business, which made Tamura Shigaraki's voice stop abruptly, and his expression collapsed instantly. It shouldn't be like this, the teacher clearly said. Anzhe's attitude made Tamura Shigaraki very irritable. He quickly said that his crimson eyes popped out, and he scratched his neck frantically with his hands impatiently. Obviously Anzhe was bullied by her peers because of quirkless when she was a child. The opponent also used quirks illegally, making him powerless to resist. However, after the event, they were not punished as they should be, at most they gave a verbal lesson or wrote a review. The teacher was also helpless about Anzhe's situation, as bullying is very common in Japanese schools. It's just that the severity of the situation is different, and the bullying suffered by Anzhe is undoubtedly a very serious one. It stands to reason that for an immature child, being bullied like this, it is difficult not to leave shadows or resentment. A490FO also aimed at Anzhe's childhood situation, and told Tamura Shigaraki all the persuasive rhetoric. Calm down, Shigaraki. Kurogiri comforted him again, and Tamura Shigaraki also slowly stopped what he was doing, and began to breathe heavily for air. He was thinking about how to invite Anzhe, or, I have to say that a foe's observation of people's hearts is very thorough. The original owner of Anzhe's body is indeed dark and self-styled, and even extremely dissatisfied with this hero's society. I'm afraid he would really have joined the League of Villains under the instigation of these words. But it's a pity that the one in front of him is Anzhe. It's just some tragic experiences when he was young, and it's not his own personal experience, so it's impossible to shake his heart. And Anzhe has nothing dissatisfaction with this world, he has power, and has become a professional hero, and his future life will only be more exciting. If there is, he will definitely not choose to join the League of Villains and become a pawn in their plan. Anzhe is more willing to change himself and become a chess player who controls his own destiny. So, Tamura Shigaraki stretched out his hand. After thinking for a long time, he forcibly threatened, join us and destroy this hero's society together. Otherwise, you won't be able to get out of here today. Yeah, Anzhe stretched out his hand, and Tamura Shigaraki smiled as if seeing the result he expected, but then his smile froze directly on his face. Snapped. Anzhe patted Tamura Shigaraki's hand away heavily, raised his head and replied arrogantly and disdainfully, I'm sorry, I like to say no to a self-righteous person like you the most. I'm not interested in accompanying you, a giant baby blinded by hatred, playing so-called anti-social game. Giant baby. These two words especially stimulated Tamura Shigaraki's heart, as if a heavy hammer hit it hard. Obviously, I've been trying so hard to persuade you, but, you dare to do this. Tamura Shigaraki scratched his neck even more frantically, speaking incoherently, his neck was already covered with bloodstains and red spots, as if only pain could restrain him. Huge shame. Everything Anzhe did, in the eyes of Tamura Shigaraki, was deliberately humiliating him. Kill him, Kurogiri. With an order, Kurogiri standing behind him moved immediately, and Kurogiri's body spread out, as if a big hand was trying to grab Anzhe. But Anzhe, who had been on guard for a long time, took a quick step back and avoided the blow. He knows Kurogiri's Quirks portal, although he can't teleport Anzhe thousands of meters into the deep sea, or into boiling lava. But if he is caught by Kurogiri now, he will definitely be teleported to a place where there is no life left. Anzhe, who dodged Kurogiri's attack, immediately launched a counterattack. The magic power that was running wildly in the body was all concentrated in the outstretched hands. Before the magic circle appeared, it burst into an extremely dazzling ice blue light. It is enough to show how terrifying the powerful power contained in this magic will be. Create. Form of ice. Silver World. This move is Gray's new move later. As you can tell from the name, it is a super wide range of freezing magic. It can be said that besides the forbidden magic or lost magic that he has mastered, the most powerful magic in ice modeling magic. The next moment, the temperature in the bar suddenly froze. A huge ice blue magic circle appeared in both hands. During this process, neither Tamura Shigaraki nor Kurogiri had time to stop. The bone-chilling coldness pierced through their skirts and penetrated into their bones. Then it slowly spread in the body, the cold invaded the heart and spleen, and even the blood coagulated. In the end, the two of them completely became ice sculptures. At the same time, large snowflakes and ice crystals suddenly landed in the bar. The endless ice magic power spread from the magic circle in Anzhe's hand, and the whole bar instantly turned into an ice cave, and everything was frozen in ice. Not only that, the chill spread. Not even the air can escape the silver world, and it actually freezes, spreads, and freezes again, so heavy that all the gas seems to be covered by extreme ice. I am afraid that from the outside, the entire office building is frozen, and it is even affecting the rest of the area. With such terrifying power, even those who have no reverence for the gods can only think that this is a punishment from the gods. Frost World. And Anzhe is the king of this space, the king of ice, and can even be said to be the god of ice who is in charge of the element of ice. Anzhe let out a cold breath and looked at the two people in front of him. There is no expression to be seen, but every trace of black gas is frozen in Kurogiri. With tear-eyed eyes and an expression of disbelief, Tamura Shigaraki is forever frozen into an ice sculpture. The lives of the two of them will soon be gone. But suddenly, a group of pitch black and rancid mud appeared in the silver world, and a tall figure appeared. With a wave of his arm, accompanied by pushing the air, a violent shock came down. Click. The sound of endless ice being crushed stopped the spread of the silver world. Anzhe's eyes also sharpened in an instant, as if he was facing a big enemy. The real crisis only began now. All for one appeared. To be precise, it was forced out by Anzhe. 067 A foe's purpose, confused Anzhe. 9th update, please subscribe. Appearing in Anzhe's line of sight was a man in a suit with an exceptionally tall build. But from the part above the mouth, he turned out to be a shocking sarcoma as a whole. Only a rough eye socket remained in his eyes, and the top of his head was also bald, which made people feel terrible. Maybe others can't imagine it. The man in front of Anzhe has no eyes, can't see anything, and usually even needs a life support device to survive. He is actually the one that brought the horror of the Dark Age. All for one. Only when facing him can one feel the terrifying and powerful aura emanating from him. Anzhe's face was serious. Sure enough, all for one, so strong. Before he came to the headquarters of the League of Villains, he guessed that the AFO would appear in the end. After all, it is impossible for him to watch Kurogiri and Shikuragi hang by his own hands. But even with mental preparation, Anzhe still felt horrified at this moment. You don't seem very surprised by my appearance. The corner of AFO's mouth hooked into a smile, with an understatement, and stretched out two balls of black mud appeared. Frozen into ice sculptures, Tamura Shigaraki and Kurogiri, both swallowed by the black ooze, disappeared into this silver world. One of AFO's many quirks, teleportation. Unlike Kurogiri's two-way portal, a foe's teleport only has the ability to transfer targets individually. That is to say, the AFO who appeared in the bar cannot be teleported back to his original place. During this process, Anzhe didn't make a move to stop it, or he didn't think he could successfully stop it. In vain. He has stopped the supply of magic power from the silver world, and reserved the magic power to deal with AFO, and at the same time telepathically called for Baloo. Of course, the frost world still exists, but Anzhe doesn't think this environmental factor can affect AFO. It's a blessing that you can see everything around you in this situation. Anzhe didn't answer AFO's question, but made a complaint and changed the subject. He knows that although AFO has no eyes, it can perceive the world vaguely with the sound of cloth rubbing, the faint vibration of air, and infrared quirks. And he can also use sound and vibration quirks to judge actions, and use perception quirks to assist in mastering changes in emotion and space. So if you think that a foe's miserable appearance is easy to bully, then you are very wrong. You don't even know how to die. However, it doesn't count as seeing, but of course it's about the same. Infrared rays, sound, vibration, perception, these quirks all help me perceive the world very well. AFO actually revealed all the quirks he perceives in the outside world without any concealment, and he didn't worry about the consequences of being known by Anzhe at all. This is a kind of self-confidence, absolute confidence in one's own strength. AFO does not feel that the current Anzhe is a person who is enough to threaten him. In other words, among the people who are still alive, it is estimated that only All Might can change his understated appearance. But Anzhe felt that AFO did it on purpose, to set himself up to observe the micro-expressions on his face. In fact, the means of AFO observation is even better. Perceiving this quirks allows him to easily detect changes in Anzhe's mentality. With his appearance, Anzhe was surprised at the beginning, but also had an unexpected attitude in the follow-up. He used the teleport quirks to name other quirks, and Anzhe was not surprised, as if he already knew it. These reactions were so strange that the AFO had to be suspicious. Anzhe seems to know that he is the person behind the League of Villains, and all the quirks he has mastered, all of them are clear. Really. Compared to this, among the two people you rescued, the one covered in black mist was in a very bad condition. Anzhe changed the subject again, the magic power in his body was ready to go, and he was thinking about how to escape under the eyes of AFO. Although Baloo can use the earth to dive and appear to take him away, if he doesn't hold back AFO so that he has no time to clone, he can easily catch up again. As long as they are sent to the doctor, they will not die. Even if the body is necrotic, I can restore them to their original state. AFO smiled indifferently, pointed at Anzhe, and said, "These are irrelevant, Mage Anzhe, I'm very interested in you." Anzhe frowned, slightly taken aback. He was really wondering why the League of Villains was staring at him all of a sudden. It seemed that it was the intention of AFO, but why? Zero. Ask for flowers. Let me introduce myself first, you can call me. All for one, I am the controller of the Dark Age. AFO looked proud, then pointed to Anzhe and said. Then I target you because I think you are similar to me. Yes, similar. Anzhe has always been quirkless, but in the past year, he has successively used abilities such as fire, water flow, dragon transformation, lightning, and strong wind. There are no two identical leaves in the world, but quirks does not mean that there are no two identical quirks. All for one's quirks is what he's named after, the ability to take someone else's quirks and bestow upon themselves or someone else. He didn't think that there would be no quirks like him among the newborn people who owned quirks in the future. Because of this, Anzhe has changed so much before and after, that AFO is deeply interested in him and invites him to the headquarters of the League of Villains. It's quite possible that Anzhe's quirks, like him, can grant itself more than two quirks abilities. But now that I'm in contact with you, I don't feel like what I thought. AFO tapped his fingers, as if thinking, and said slowly, but these are not important anymore, Mage Anzhe, I invite you again. The AFO continued, would you like to join my League of Villains? I guarantee that you will become my disciple, the leader of the League of Villains, inherit and take charge of everything I have. It was said that Anzhe was really confused and at a loss by what AFO said. Because he never thought that AFO invited him to join, just like All Might passed OFA to Green Valley Izuku. So, what about your current disciple, Tamura Shigaraki? Don't care. In short, Anzhe didn't intend to fall to the side of villains, he shook his head, just about to refuse. Result. AFO stretched out his hand to signal Anzhe to stop, and began to tell a story. Listen to a story first. There was a pair of brothers a long time ago. 068 brother and younger brother, Afo and Afa. 10th update, please subscribe. Long ago, there was a pair of brothers, born in the early days of Quirks. That era is known as the Extraordinary Dawn. Quirks' superpowers and anomalies, which will always stabilize society, are broken. Many people's appearances are affected by quirks, or their body parts become animal parts, and they look obviously inhuman. This led to a breakdown of the standards that define humans, and a battle between normal-looking humans and quirks-affected humans broke out that involved all of humanity. Chapter 59 of the manga is detailed. In addition, the superpower of quirks has made many people degenerate into criminals, doing criminal things wantonly or bullying the quirkless people who were still in large numbers at that time. The constraints of the law are gone, and the strength of the power has become the only key. The result of the simultaneous outbreak of the two is that the society has fallen into chaos, so chaotic that it can be described as waste. May 17th. Technology stagnates, laws lose meaning, and governments have no power. In this chaotic era, the first person to unite everyone is the elder brother of the pair of brothers. He is now all for one. Give, choice, to the powerless, forgiveness, to sin, and give you what you expect. As long as you are willing to help me. This sentence is my brother's invitation to others. His quirks can take away other people's quirks and give them to himself or others, he takes quirks from people, and his overwhelming power allows him to expand his power rapidly. In addition, he manipulated others in a planned way and carried out his own atrocities at will, even the Japanese government agencies surrendered and handed over the power they could not keep. The elder brother became the ruler of evil and ruled over the whole of Japan. The Dark Ages have begun. However, his younger brother has a strong sense of justice. He is heartbroken by his brother's atrocities and resists with all his strength. But the younger brother is short and thin, and he is a quirkless person. All his resistance, in the eyes of his brother, is so small and powerless. Then, now the world is in chaos, quirks should not be used only for selfish desires, you only care about satisfying yourself. The younger brother yelled at his elder brother, even though he knew he was quirkless, he had to stand up. Comic 193, the story between the elder brother and the younger brother. I'll return this to you as it is, my stupid brother. The elder brother raised his hand to introduce the two people standing beside him. One person's appearance was affected by quirks, his jaw was deformed, and his teeth grew longer and longer, so he was regarded as a monster by the people around him and scolded for having a strange disease. The other is quirkless, just because he doesn't have the power of quirks, he was attacked by a group with quirks, bullied wantonly, and even his personal freedom was taken away. Please, hurry up. The two spoke to their elder brother in an expectant and hopeful tone. No, I won't be able to recover. The younger brother wanted to stop what happened next, but he was so thin that he knelt down on the ground weakly after running a few steps. And his brother put his hands on both heads, one quirks to take away, the other quirks to give. The person whose appearance was affected by quirks, the quirks were stripped, his teeth returned to normal, and he shed tears of gratitude on the spot. He will no longer be regarded as a monster by those around him. A quirkless person, endowed with quirks, feels the power of his body, and he feels that he will never be bullied without even the ability to resist. Thank you so much. I will never have this kindness in my life. Seeing the two excitedly crying and expressing their gratitude from the bottom of their hearts, the elder brother asked, "If I have any difficulties in the future, will you help me?" Of course. ×2. The elder brother's power has added 2 more loyal supporters. See, brother, what is the world you are talking about? This is your sophistry, but you have added 2 more subordinates. Hearing this, the elder brother put his finger on his lips, and said with a leisurely expression, "I watched people use quirks for people. People need something they can rely on. If you say you deny me, then their happiness just now will be lost." They were all rejected. Normal appearance. The power of self-preservation. My power can bring order to this world that has lost its original form of human beings. Who is the person who desperately insists on selfish ideas? The younger brother excitedly stood up and rushed to the elder brother, and retorted loudly, "There is no order in taking advantage of other people's hearts. You don't remember how many people have been played by you and abandoned." However, a member of the elder brother's forces stopped the younger brother from approaching, and pushed his head to the ground, only prostrate and looking up at his elder brother. "Ah, poor, because you were born without quirks." The elder brother looked at his younger brother's posture, shook his head, and continued, "Without strength, there is no truth that can be implemented. But even so, you are still my cute and stupid brother. The only family member." The elder brother gave the younger brother a quirks that can store power. I don't know if it's the elder brother's love for the younger brother, or he wants the younger brother to succumb to his charity. But out of the blue, the younger brother discovers he also owns a quirks. In other words, biological brothers, quirks inherited genes, and the quirks of both have something in common. The younger brother's own quirks are actually quirks that can be bestowed on others. There is only the bestowment alone, and there is no deprivation from the elder brother. But I got another quirks given by my brother, and the 2 quirks are combined to sublimate. Alpha, one for all, was born. However, in the Dark Age at that time, the strength of the younger brother alone was too weak, and this OFA's power emperor was passed on. Passing the torch, until the 8th generation passed on Yagi Toshinoriya, All Might, the symbol of peace, AFO was defeated. Although All Might was also seriously injured, the Dark Age ruled by AFO came to an end. The era of the current hero is here. This is the story between brother and brother. After telling the story, AF 5.80 looked at Anzhe, and said passionately, "You made me feel that I have the possibility to become my disciple, and then we will destroy this hero's society together, and let the 2 of us turn into darkness, once again dominate the whole of Japan." The plural ability displayed by Anzhe made AFO see the same possibility as him and his stupid brother. Ability to withstand multiple quirks. In fact, so far, no one has been able to withstand the match of multiple quirks except AFO and his brother. And those who have forcibly endured multiple quirks will eventually become an existence that is neither human nor ghost. This kind of existence is nomu. At this moment, Anzhe finally understood why AFO invited him. 069 Thoughts to Change the World, a foe falls into hallucinations. The first update, please subscribe. I reject. The answer Anzhe gave was still the same as rejecting Tamura Shigaraki. As expected. However, AFO did not overreact. It would be better to say that this answer was not what he expected. When I first got to know you on paper, I thought you were the person I expected. But after actually getting in touch with you, I found that I was wrong. AFO continued. He has been observing Anzhe with perception quirks, but found that after the mind of the reader is very calm. On the one hand, the calmness of all the information he revealed, and on the other hand, the calmness of his own situation. AFO felt a little unbelievable in his heart. He didn't think Anzhe had the ability to escape from him, and the time was always counting. The office building is frozen, and the time for the police or professional heroes to arrive is in their hands. I thought you would be very eager for the power of quirks, and it just so happens that I can give you all of these. AFO spread his hands wide open, extremely arrogant, and the number of quirks he plundered was bottomless. Whichever Anzhe wants to choose, as long as he becomes his disciple, he can plunder it in the quirks library or directly, and give it to Anzhe. But no matter when he watched his childhood video, Quirkless 09 was bullied because of the reason. Or say his plural quirks himself. And the quirks ability of his all for .1 nay. Anzhe's attitude is too calm to be indifferent. I refuse. 3 points. The corners of Anzhe's lips turned upwards. Beluge was already waiting underground, and his magic was ready. I will definitely not join Villains' organization, because I am a professional hero. I hate looting other people's quirks because it's essentially 1-to-1 and I just want 1+1. I don't have any dissatisfaction with this hero's society at the moment. Even if I do, I will choose to change in an upright way. When the hero's is really limited, when the villains can follow the desire. But the villains can only stay in the dark forever, unable to get on the stage and enjoy the light. Maybe it can become the so-called anti-hero's, or as AFO said, overthrow the current hero's society. But during these processes, they are destined to stay in the dark. As it happens, Anzhe hates this very much. 1-1, 1+1, a change in an upright way. AFO was confused by Anzhe for the first time. The first point is easy to understand, but what do the last 2 points mean? Then let me reveal my secret to you. Speaking of which, you are the first. Anzhe smiled lightly, stretched out his hand, and a seemingly transparent but substantial gas slowly condensed on the palm of his hand. This is. AFO suddenly felt that he couldn't understand the young man in front of him. This kind of thinking seemed incredible to him. He had lived for hundreds of years, and he had never seen such a person. What kind of things have you never seen? Magic, a fictional setting that first came from the background of Western fantasy, is now commonly used in many comics and light novels. In Mindgland's world, there are free magic powers everywhere in the world, which exist but have not been developed by anyone. Anzhe is the only one who has mastered the method of magic cultivation, so if he publicly reveals it one day, will it allow the whole people to enter the era of magic cultivation? 1+1, Quirks plus magic. From the extraordinary dawn period, to the chaos period, to the dark period, led by AFO, until now the Hero-S society that All Might has become after defeating AFO. I'm not kidding. Anzhe, as a time traveler, has seen the earth-shaking changes in the plot of Woing. Whether it is the effect caused by his butterfly, no one can tell. But whether it is or not, Anzhe tends to let him be. Create a new era by yourself, all the people practice magic, and turn my English world into the second fairy tale world. By that time, even every dark corner of the world will know his name. The famous point brought by this popularity is definitely the upper limit that Anzhe can obtain in my English world. Are you joking? For the first time, AFO had a look of astonishment on his face, sensing Anzhe's agitated mood at the moment. He suddenly felt in his heart whether Anzhe, in essence, is just like himself, a lunatic. Anzhe didn't answer, but manipulated a cloud of magic power in his hand to change its nature. Fire, water, lightning. Every time Anzhe shows a kind of elemental power, a foe's expression seems to become more and more dull. It is no wonder that Anzhe's mentality is calm when he mentions Quirks. All the abilities he exhibited didn't come from Quirks at all. There is also such a thing as magic. He has never seen an AFO that has lived for hundreds of years. At the same time, AFO can't help but think about Anzhe and his magic influence. Once the existence of magic is really exposed, it is afraid that it will cause a huge event with an unknown scope, and it may even transcend national borders and reach a world-class level. Especially after experiencing the initial era when Quirks just appeared and were squeezed out, Quirks rose up and fought with Quirkless humans. The chaotic age of riots one after another all over the world, the dark age opened by itself. The AFO who has seen the terrifying side of countless shadows of human beings knows more about what magic means. Phew. AFO exhaled slowly, and suddenly burst out with a terrifying aura, rushing towards Anzhe. You shouldn't say so much, because it will make it even more necessary for me to keep you. If you change your face, you will change your face, as expected of villains. Since I revealed the magic power, don't you realize that you have fallen into my trap? Anzhe smiled confidently, except for a part of the magic power of 937 in his hand, the rest is a magic circle. Skyscraper. Illusion magic. Looking at the AFO rushing towards him, he stopped when he was less than 1 meter away from him in an instant. He fell into the magic of skyscrapers. Buru. Anzhe lowered his head and shouted towards the bottom, accompanied by the sound of floors being broken. I follow the call, Master, please give me instructions. Baruch, who appeared through the ground, knelt down on one knee to salute, and said to Anzhe. Anzhe, where did you learn this sentence? In an anime called Fate series. Anzhe raised his hand to his forehead. The internet language is harmful, and he feels like he is addicted to learning Baloo songs. But now is not the time to worry about these things. Taking advantage of AFO's hallucination, Anzhe ordered, Baloo, take me away. Understood. Then, Balug stepped forward and hugged Anzhe. Using the Earth submergence magic, the two fled directly to a safe area outside the Shenye area. As for the AFO in the hallucination, it will affect its mood. He will meet his dear and stupid younger brother, the first OFA. We will still meet the All Might 8th generation OFA who defeated him. No way of knowing. 070 All Might's invitation, double invitation. Second update, please subscribe. Interesting for you. 6 women who are known for their large body parts. More. 229. 57. 76. It's really exciting to run after pretending. After escaping from the headquarters of the League of Villains, Anzhe asked Baruch to go home first, while Anzhe went to the police station for tea. With the appearance of AFO, Anzhe will not hide and pinch it, and immediately call the police as soon as he escapes. He knew that with the AFO method, it was impossible for the police to catch him, but this incident could at least calm them down for a while. Someone wants to see you. At this moment, a policeman came over. The first one is the empty ghost soul. Anzhe sent an email to tell him what happened just now, in order to release All Might. Sure enough, upon hearing about the AFO, Kongui Soul sent an email stating that All Might would also come. The time is almost up. Anzhe also wants to meet this charismatic symbol of peace that almost 60 to 70% of children yearn for, All Might. However, the person following him is like a skeleton clan in the undead natural disaster. Although the description is exaggerated, the person in front of him is too thin. The golden bangs drooped along the sharp and thin cheeks, like a dead face without any nutrition, and the eyes seemed to have formed shadows from long-term fatigue and became completely black. All Might's emaciated form. Anzhe never expected that All Might would meet with her under the appearance of revealing her serious injury. All Might's serious injury was unknown to anyone except a few people who knew about OFA and teachers at UA High School. Even the number 2 Flame Hero's Endeavor, who has been chasing the back of All Might, doesn't know the real situation of All Might. I'm All Might, the thin man said straight to the point. His weak tone made Anzhe wonder if he would hang up at any time. All Might, could it be the number 1 hero's All Might, the symbol of peace? Anzhe pretended not to recognize him, and at the same time looked at All Might's emaciated state with an unbelievable tone and gaze. The Oscar statuette, the best actor is next. Long story, it's all about the AFC you met a while back. All Might and Kong Gui's soul exchanged glances. It seems that his meeting with Anzhe in this state was arranged by Kong Gui's soul. In other words, the AFO and the League of Villains, who have been dormant for a long time, took their first action and targeted Anzhe, which made All Might attach great importance to entrust Anzhe. So, it's storytelling mode again. The root of OFA and AFO, light was born in darkness. Anzhe also listened patiently. Although he already knew the general idea, he could still learn a lot of things that he didn't know by listening to the real person. I have already asked the police to seal off the Shenye district and carry out a blanket investigation, but the effect should not be great. Compared with this, the Anzhe boy. A trace of anxiety flashed in All Might's eyes, but he suppressed it immediately, and raised his head to meet Anzhe's gaze. Etc. Anzhe immediately noticed something wrong in the tone. He seemed to understand why All Might met him in this state. Is it possible that All Might also want him to be the successor of OFA under the recommendation of Kong Gui's soul? If it were you, I think you are qualified to inherit my strength. Anzhe rested his forehead and pondered, and he really guessed right. But All Might and Kong Gui's soul didn't speak, giving Anzhe time to think quietly. It's a mess. Anzhe sighed in his heart. He really didn't expect this to happen. According to the original plot, AFO, which has lived for more than 100 years, after a long struggle with the 8th generation off as All Might, finally lost in the final battle a few years ago. And All Might lost both. Symbol of evil, symbol of peace. It looks magnificent and tall, like 2 suns hanging in the sky, but in fact, they have already burned out and are crumbling. No matter how determined the 2 people's wills are, their bodies can't support them to move on. As beings who had reached the apex, the 2 possessed ceiling-level strength, and they made the same choice by coincidence. Find your own successor. All Might chose Midoriya Izuku, a boy with a heart of hero's. AFO chose Tamura Shigaraki, an immature but seemingly malicious boy. As a result, under the appearance of Anzhe, the 2 of them did not choose the direction of the original plot, and both invited Anzhe to be their heir. If I accepted the invitation from AFO just now, and then accepted the invitation from All Might here, would I be able to get double? Anzhe shook his head, dispelling this random thought. As we all know, only one portion of joy is enough, and the double portion of joy does not overlap and only makes things very bad. So the same reason, just accept one invitation, but the problem is that Anzhe doesn't want to accept the invitation. Sorry, I just want to focus on my own business and continue my parents' ambitions. Anzhe gave a reasonable answer of refusal. Kong Gui's soul felt a little lost when he heard it, and All Might also understood the meaning. Everyone has his own ambitions. Kong Gui's soul is really optimistic about Anzhe, and wants to let him have a brighter path, inherit OFA, and become the second symbol of peace. But the ambition is not there. It's not that I feel sorry for robbing Green Valley Izuku's opportunity. If he didn't have the means to gain power, Anzhe would definitely accept OFA's inheritance and gain power. But Anzhe already has the strongest wizard system, so he naturally doesn't want to bear the long-cherished wish of several generations of OFA. After all, although he has become a professional hero's, he knows that he does not have a true hero's heart. Leaving aside the fact that after inheriting OFA, he has to fight against the League of Villains every day, just to become the second symbol of peace is too heavy a burden. Capable people like All Might help those who are weaker than themselves without asking for anything in return. This kind of spirit and social pursuit are the hero's in the eyes of everyone. Lao Hao Jiao. In other words, the symbol of peace is the selfless person. Reminiscent of the news that All Might is still in the society to rescue disasters, fight criminals, and fight non-stop. Blood and tears, the real hero's, the symbol of peace, is so heavy. Such selfless efforts to maintain peace, in Anzhe's opinion, are really exhausting. Only those who truly have a hero's heart can do this. And Anzhe can't. It can even be said that he is very selfish. Backquote, it's okay, young man Anzhe, I'm still very much looking forward to your future. All Might patted Anzhe on the shoulder encouragingly, and then continued, there is another thing, although you have become a professional hero's, but after you graduate from junior high school, I still hope you can join Shangchen. I will go to Shangying. This time, Anzhe made a sure promise. 071 Jiro Kyoka as a guest. The third update, please subscribe. Interesting for you. Unveiling Tim Walls, the inspiring story of his family. More. 82, 21, 27. Meanwhile, in Jiro Kyoka's house, in a room on the second floor. Jiro Kyoka, who was wearing a school uniform, gently took off his clothes. The girl's right leg is slender and slender, the arc from knee to ankle is graceful and charming, and the white skin like cream is terrifying. The slightly arched arch of the foot is more delicate and lovely, like a work of art written by a master with ingenuity, which makes people want to hold it in their hands and play with it gently. It's so annoying, it's weird to wear school uniforms on rest days. Jiro Kyoka walked to the wardrobe, hesitated for a moment, took out a light yellow suspender dress and pointed it at the mirror. This dress is very beautiful, but I heard that all the boys are going to his house again, is it possible? Jiro Kyoka thought about something, and his face flushed red. When she was at school today, she made an appointment with Anzhe to go to his house on the weekend, so that the girl is now upset about what to wear. Then, she smoothed out the folds of the skirt and put it on. Although he doesn't want to talk about it, his body is very honest. After all, she is also a girl, and she wants to be praised for being cute. However, with short hair and usually boyish attire, she is too masculine, and even some primary school girls will confess to her as a senior. Thinking of those scenes, Jiro Kyoka sighed tiredly. Kyoka, the door is open 897, I came in. Suddenly, a mature and intellectual voice suddenly sounded. Hey, Mom, wait a minute, The girl looked at the door like a panicked kitten. She would not admit that because she was a little happy, she forgot to close the door tightly. The door was opened, and an intellectual beauty wearing glasses stared slightly at her daughter in a skirt. She is Jiro Kyoka's mother, Jiro Mika. It's so cute, are you planning to go out on a date? It's not a date. Jiro Kyoka was flustered and quickly vetoed it. I see. Jiro Meixiong nodded in relief, is it with Xiao Jie? Ahem. Jiro Kyoka choked on his own saliva. I haven't seen Xiaoj for a long time, when will I bring it back for my mother to see? Jiro Meixiong stretched out a slender finger, and gently tapped her chin. That's why I said it's not a date, so don't talk to yourself. Jiro Kyoka couldn't bear the teasing, and buried his head on the bed to escape reality. Ginger is still old and hot. Jiro Kyoka reacted so excitedly that Jiro Mika's eyes bent into crescents. Hey, pay attention to safety on the day you go out. Jiro Meixiong waved her hand, walked out of the room, and said from a distance, it's okay if you don't come back at night. How could you not come back? Jiro Kyoka's excited voice resounded throughout the house. Jiro Hirotoku, Jiro Kyoka's father, who was sitting on the sofa on the first floor, couldn't help shaking his head helplessly. Raising a daughter for so many years. As a father, he always feels very tired. After the League of Villains invitation event, time flies, and it's the rest day. 9 o'clock in the morning. The doorbell rang. Anzhe walked over to open the door. A purple-haired girl wearing a goose-yellow suspender skirt appeared outside the door. Under the bright sunlight, the girl's purple hair was shining on each other, and the corners of her lips were slightly pursed, seeming a little nervous. Jiro Kyoka, make an appointment to come to his house as a guest. Anzhe was slightly taken aback. The girl's clothes today were different from those in the past, and her eyes lit up. Don't be dumbfounded. I'm a little dumbfounded. Anzhe's answer immediately made Jiro Kyoka's pretty face heat up, and he lowered his head. Come in. Anzhe smiled. I'm interrupting. Jiro Kyoka quickly followed, a little nervous, eyes wide open, looking left and right. Although it is not that she has never been to Anzhe's house before, it is always in the form of a family unit accompanied by her parents. Like today when I came to the boy's house alone, it's impossible to say I'm not nervous. AJDF, walking into the hallway, Baruch in maid outfit stood aside respectfully, and took a pair of slippers from the shoe cabinet. Please change. Seeing Baruch squatting down and putting the slippers in front of her feet, Jiro Kyoka blinked cutely, but didn't react. Baluj, I told you before, the maid left behind by my parents. Anzhe introduced generously. Hello, I am the master every day. Anzhe stared at him, and Baruch closed his mouth consciously, and reorganized his words. I am the maid who takes care of the master's daily life and diet. Hello. Jiro Kyoka showed an awkward yet polite smile. He had always been a little jealous, but he was dispelled by Balu's handing over the shoes just now. How to say? There is a feeling that the villains may be a villains and has become the mistress, and the villains has become a maid. Cough cough. Jiro Kyoka shook his head quickly, dispelling the idea that he was the hostess, and diverted his attention to observe the interior of Anzhe's room. Jiro Kyoka found out curiously that it was not as sloppy as she imagined, but rather very clean and tidy. She thought there would be stinky clothes and socks thrown around, drink bottles and game CDs that were thrown on the ground inadvertently, but there were none of them. Instead, there were many books on the coffee table in the living room. Just tell Baluj what kind of tea you want to drink. Anzhe said as he took out some fruits and put them in front of Jiro Kyoka. Eat some fruits first and let Fan Lia cook beef rice later. Thank you Anzhe. Jiro Kyoka gave another standard smile. She was still a little nervous inside. But for Anzhe, he is used to Jiro Kyoka's occasional little violence and arrogance, but he is not used to this smile, and waved his hand. This is home, don't be so restrained. Jiro Kyoka puffed up his pink cheeks and greeted him with a smile. If she followed her usual style, she would definitely get a bunch of instruments and play some rock or punk music. So that's so unladylike. By the way, one of her parents is a musician and the other is a composer. She has been fond of musical instruments and music since she was a child. Balug went to the kitchen to prepare the dishes, while Anzhe sat next to Jiro Kyoka on the sofa. Start the conversation. Speaking of which, Kyoka, I have some news for you. What? Jiro Kyoka tilted his head curiously. Yesterday I met with All Might. He gave me a direct invitation to join Xiangying, and he will also come to Xiangying to serve. Hey. Jiro Kyoka immediately exclaimed in disbelief. 072 The story begins. Fourth update, please subscribe. All Might is almost the hero's most dreamed of by all children born more than 10 years ago. At that time, a serious disaster occurred, and All Might rescued hundreds of people within 10 minutes, and more than 1,000 people in the entire rescue. This deed was filmed into an animated documentary, which deeply affected this group of children. Especially the classic sentence, "It's all right." Why do you want to ask? Because I'm here. Jiro, Kyoka and Anzhe, the original owners of the body, were also attracted by this powerful strength and charm. Really. Jiro Kyoka's eyes were shining brightly, and it was inevitable that he would be so excited when he thought of becoming a student of All Might. Certainly. Anzhe smiled, and the two chatted on the topic of All Might, and Jiro Kyoka was not as nervous and restrained as he was at the beginning. But I'm worried that I won't pass the exam for Yingying. Jiro Kyoka frowned, playing with the wire-shaped earlobes of her earphones, which she could insert somewhere, and then amplify the sound of her own heartbeat for a sonic attack. But in general, the actual combat is poor, not very sure. Regarding this, Anzhe lowered his head and thought, he also cannot guarantee that Jiro Kyoka will be admitted to Yingying. After all, there have been so many changes in the plot of my English, and many things in the original plot cannot be determined. So why don't you try magic? Anzhe turned his head and looked. He had always planned to teach magic and make it public, but he hadn't found anyone to try it yet. Then, Jiro Kyoka, who was stared at like a guinea pig, turned his head and asked, what's wrong? Ahem, I have a way to increase your strength, Kyoka. Anzhe coughed softly, although it's a bit confusing, but Kyoka, as long as you succeed in cultivation, it should be very easy to pass the heroic exam. Hey, what method? Jiro Kyoka was slightly taken aback, very curious in his heart. Let's talk about it in detail after lunch. Anzhe pointed to Baruch, who came out of the kitchen, and said that magic power and magic cultivation are not easy for beginners. Even if there is a senior who follows the teachings next to him, it still depends on the talent of the practitioner. Of course, in theory, no matter how poor a person's talent is, as long as he works hard, he can cultivate magic power and use some small magic that consumes almost nothing. Unlike Quirks' innate, learned magic, at least everyone can master it. This is also why Anzhe is so confident in publicizing magic and leading the era of magic. Master, there is no food at home without coming. Baluj walked in front of the two of them, blinking his eyes seriously. Anzhe scratched his head in embarrassment, but such an emergency happened when he was entertaining guests. Go out to dinner, I'm treating you. Good. It hit it off, and the three of them decided to go out for dinner. Then let me treat you. Jiro Kyoka took out a shiny mall shopping card, complacent. The danger she encountered in the open-air mall. Afterward, the person in charge of the mall gave her a shopping card, which can be used anywhere in the mall for consumption. Anzhe thought for a while, and agreed. Okay. Although some hospitality is not good, but this time should not force the man's face, treat the other party back next time or buy some souvenirs, snacks, and cold drinks. The three of them went all the way to the dining area on the fourth floor of the open-air mall and chose a newly opened restaurant. Meanwhile, Midoriya Izuku gets up early to work out on his day off. If he wants to be admitted to Yingying, the actual combat assessment is the key. He must strengthen his physical fitness. He ran under a bridge to take a rest. Behind him, the manhole cover of the sewer suddenly opened, and a mass of mud rushed directly towards Izuku. Villains. Green Valley. Izuku just came up with this idea. His whole body was swallowed by this mass of mud, and even the mud kept drilling into his body. My name is the invisible Quar raincoat of size M. Don't struggle, kid, die obediently and hand over your body. No. Who can come and save him? Just when Green Valley Izuku was almost unable to hold back his frightened feeling, a voice that was often heard in front of the TV suddenly came from his ears. Hero S, but it will appear at a critical moment. 0. Hugged by a pair of powerful hands, the muddy tentacles were torn off, and Green Valley Izuku was blown far away by the air pressure under the huge force. Damn All Might, you beat me out of a body, and you're still chasing after me. Size M's invisibility Quar raincoat roared angrily, but it was all in vain. Because you are villains, and I am Hero S. M's invisibility cape was arrested and stuffed into a Coke bottle. Green Valley Izuku opened his eyes, just in time for the person who saved him to check his situation. This person is exactly the Hero S he admired. Oh, All Might. Izuku, who was so excited that his voice was trembling, only felt that he was dreaming, so he quickly took out his scorched notebook and asked for an autograph. It's all right, I have to ask why, because I'm here. All Might issued a declaration as usual, and after signing Green Valley Izuku, he was ready to leave with a jump. Wait a moment. Green Valley Izuku hurried forward. He still had something to ask in his heart, just grabbed All Might's thigh. So, the two ascended to heaven together. In the whole process until All Might was looking for a place to land, he didn't find the Coke bottle filled with mud villains, and it quietly fell to an unknown place. Bakugo Katsuki felt that he had been extremely unlucky recently. After being picked up by Anzhe that day, and he said that Shoji was better than himself. This makes him very irritable now, and he doesn't like seeing anything. A mere stinker, stronger than himself. How could it be possible? Bakugo Katsuki, who was walking on the road in displeasure, saw a Coke bottle that seemed to be thrown randomly on the ground. Feeling depressed and wanting to vent, he kicked the Coke bottle away. Result: mutations abound. A monster made of mud drilled out of the Coke bottle and pounced on him. Although he tried his best to resist, his limbs were still entangled by the silt monster, and then the silt monster wanted to enter his body. Extremely frightened, Bakugo started to counterattack frantically, and the violent explosion turned the surrounding area into a sea of flames. The drama begins. 073 Helpless Occupation Hero S. Bakugo is in crisis. The first update, please subscribe. In the restaurant, Anzhe, Jiro Kyoka, and Baruch were able to get a seat without any problems. Maybe it's because of the new store, otherwise, at noon on the rest day, just queuing up is enough to torture people. I want a tonkatsu set meal. Looking at the menu, Anzhe quickly made a decision. Then I'll have one. Jiro Kyoka pursed his lips in difficulty, and subconsciously wanted to order a cheaper set meal to save Anzhe a little money. I want this milk crepe. Baloo looked at the set meal in Anzhe's hands, pointing at the more expensive desserts. Okay. Anzhe took away the menu, turned to look at Jiro Kyoka, and saw her entanglement in his eyes. Order whatever you want. Jiro Kyoka was slightly taken aback, and read the meaning of Anzhe's words, feeling a little dazed in his heart. My childhood sweetheart, now, 123, has opened his own firm, and he is considered a little famous, so he doesn't have to worry about financial problems. A lot has changed in a year. In comparison, she is still a student, but Anzhe has stepped into the society and created her own world. Then I want this eel rice. Waiter. After the three ordered, Anzhe beckoned, and at the same time, the guests at other tables looked at them. Jiro Kyoka stuck out his tongue playfully and said softly, big celebrity. Hearing this, Anzhe also shook his head helplessly. Being famous would indeed bring a lot of trouble. Just like being surrounded by crowds now, it still affects appetite. Do you want to wear sunglasses when you go out next time? With this thought in mind, Anzhe played with his mobile phone, waiting for the food to be served. He checked the email, and Hatsume Mei informed her that the shoes had been designed and asked him to find a chance to try them on. Anzhe thought for a while, gave an answer, and asked her to be the secondary mirror by the way. Then, he looked at the chat software group. The members were all the employees of his firm. It is usually used for chatting, and when there is a hero's request, it can be accepted not only on the computer but also on the mobile terminal. Has the huge monster with the face of a horse been robbed by All Might at Tianduan Station? Anzhe smiled. MT. Lady, who is usually king of K-heads, finally fell down today, and was defeated by number 1 hero's All Might villains. She was complaining crazily in the group, and she and the others could only accept the commission of patrolling the only area near Weidoyuan Station, the name of the place that appeared in Chapter 1 of the manga. There was a small earthquake in the neighboring city, so Sirius went to the rescue hero's commission there. I always feel that the name of this station is somewhat familiar. I couldn't remember it for a while, and there was a sense of trance where I had seen it before. At this time, the waiter served the dishes, and Anzhe also turned off her mobile phone to eat. About half an hour, after finishing lunch, Anzhe planned to buy some food and rice, and then returned home to teach Kyoka how to learn magic. Suddenly, the phone vibrated. Turn on the phone until the group chat. A hero's entrustment with a red warning bar appears impressively. Hero's commission issued in case of emergency. Anzhe clicked to open it, and a related picture was released in it. The villains kidnapped a citizen. That villains was covered in mud, wearing a size M invisible Quar raincoat. And the kidnapped people was none other than Bakugo Katsuki. So it's the beginning of the plot. Anzhe stood up suddenly. He remembered where he had seen this station, the very first part of my English plot. There is also the horse-faced monster, which is the first villains to introduce the background view of this world. So, Green Valley Izuku should have met All Might, right? There is an urgent hero's request. I will go to support. Baruch, protect Kyoka. Seeing the eyes of the two women next to him looking at him, Anzhe quickly explained, and then ran away in a hurry. Wait, Jiro Kyoka was about to say something in astonishment, but Anzhe had already disappeared in a flash. Of course, it's not a case of not paying the bill, but Jiro Kyoka also wanted to go and watch the excitement. So, Jiro Kyoka looked at Baruch, asked, can you take me after him? Certainly. Baluj nodded, she was also in the group. Meanwhile, the other side. After temporarily occupying Bakugo Katsuki's body with his cloak of invisibility, M is wantonly using his quirks to destroy buildings around the explosion. Seeing that the scale of the explosion was getting bigger and bigger, several nearby professional heroes arrived in time. Fire Buster, Death Scarlet Fist, Jungle Kamui, MT. Lady. All of them are patrolling at Tianduan Station, a professional hero under the ferry office. Fire Buster stretches out his pump-like palms, as he is called Hero and the spreading fire is contained under his quirks. But he was the only professional hero who was able to put out fires in a large area. Although the surrounding fires were under control, the explosion center where Bakugo was located was still raging. This also makes it difficult for Jungle Kamui to use his tree quirks, get close to villains and hostages, and can only rescue people trapped by the sprawl. There is also MT. Lady, her page is in more than 2 places, otherwise it will only be a waste of help. Completely a large melon-eating crowd. Only the red fist of death can rush into the fire, come to the side of M's invisibility cape, and defeat the villains covered in mud. Seeing Bakugo's painful and struggling expression being played by the silt monster, Death's red fist swung out with a bang, and the huge force made the wind of the fist cut the air in front of him like a sharp sword. However, when this kind of attack hit the silt, it only blasted away a little silt on the surface, and the rest of the impact was absorbed by the silt monster with its physical characteristics. Unless the strength reaches the ceiling level, it is difficult for ordinary physics-based attacks to cause damage to the silt monster. B******************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************** monster, struggled to explode the potential of his lower body to be the man of the original plot, but it was just a struggle. Once again, it was suppressed by the silt monster. On the contrary, while struggling, 5.5 unconsciously used Quirks, blasting out a more violent explosion than before, so that the death red fist had to retreat quickly out of the explosion range. Isn't it? For a long time, Several heroes can't solve the villains, save the hostages. Speaking of which, isn't this villains the one All Might was chasing just now? What about All Might? Where did he go? The hostage child seems to be dying. There is no more powerful job hero should you save him quickly. There are actually a large group of melon-eating people around. Instead of fleeing, each of them gathered in a safe place because of the heat. However, when they saw that the villains hadn't been solved for a long time, and the several professional heroes present looked helpless, they gradually began to panic. At this time, Anzhe finally arrived at the scene. 074 Anzhe makes a move and defeats the slime monster. Second update, please subscribe. When Anzhe rushed to the scene, Green Valley Izuku also happened to come nearby. Green Valley Izuku is the same as Bakugo Katsuki, but unlike the latter who thinks he has been extremely unlucky recently, Green Valley feels that he has been extremely lucky recently. First, I met Anzhe, who was in the 3rd grade of junior high school with me, but has become a professional hero S. Just now, I was lucky enough to meet his most admired hero S, the symbol of peace All Might. And he plucked up the courage to ask All Might a question that he had always wondered about. Can a quirkless like him really be a hero S? However, All Might said a lot to him, but most of them were comforting, thousands of words gathered 3 words. Give up. The cruel but realistic answer, but I don't know why, although Green Valley is very disappointed, but the flame of becoming a hero S in his heart has not been extinguished. Those were Anzhe's words of encouragement, supporting his stubborn dreams. Seeing All Might pull open the iron gate of the rooftop and prepare to leave, Lugu's head felt hot, and he didn't know where the courage came from. He straightened his body, tears could not stop flowing, but he said to All Might's back in a firm voice, dreams will never end. Hearing these words from Green Valley, All Might, who was about to leave, pulled the handle of the iron door and stood there for a while. He sighed, turned his back to Lugu and said, it's not a bad thing to have dreams, but you have to face reality, boy. After speaking, he closed the iron gate and left, leaving only Midoriya Izuku who was stunned in place. Boom. The violent explosion brought Green Valley Izuku back to reality. He rushed into the crowd of onlookers, and saw his young tame Bakugo Katsuki, looking at him with a painful face. Eyes on each other. From Bakugo's face, Green Valley read his expression of asking for help. The next moment, Green Valley Izuku rushed up without hesitation. You idiot, stop, stop. Why did a child rush over? It was so unexpected that none of the professional heroes present stopped Green Valley, which caused a burst of exclamation from the onlookers. That boy, why is he? And among the crowd, there was a thin and sickly blonde man. He clenched his fists, his eyebrows stood up one by one, and his face was full of blue veins. He was angry at his own incompetence, and he had run out of transformation times, so he could only stand by and watch, but he said a lot of handsome words to this young man. I can't practice it myself. At this time, a palm was patted on his shoulder. All Might, have you run out of transformation times? Anzhe asked suspiciously, and he saw the thin All Might in the crowd at a glance. During the previous conversation at the police station, he learned of All Might's physical condition, half of his respiratory organs and his entire stomach had been removed. This is no longer a problem that can be solved by simple treatment methods. The same is true for Anzhe's healing magic, which cannot grow human organs out of thin air. Anzhe boy, I can't transform today, so hurry up and save that boy. All Might found that the savior was like a savior, and pointed to the Green Valley Izuku who rushed out. His one-day transformation time was used up when he defeated the horse-faced villains, and he had already forcibly transformed after saving Green Valley and defeating M's invisible Quar raincoat. Now unless he exhausts the last flame of OFA, he can't become a muscle at all. I see. Anzhe nodded. Different from the original plot, the horse-faced monster was defeated by All Might, resulting in this situation. Submission trigger. Rescue Green Valley Izuku and Bakugo Katsuki mission reward. B-level draw once. Close black lens bracket. At the same time, the cold mechanical sound of the system sounded in Anzhe's ears. Director, villains are immune to physical attacks. Death Chiquan saw Anzhe coming out of the crowd, and quickly reminded him loudly. Understood. The next moment, Anzhe also rushed out. Another child rushed in. Didn't you hear that the profession hero S and this kid is the director? He is a professional hero S, the wizard Anzhe. The crowd of onlookers once again burst into exclamations, but unlike just now, this time they all thought that villains was about to be defeated. On the other side, Green Valley Izuku, who was running, quickly took off the school bag he was carrying and threw it towards the mud monster. Preemptive strike. It's a pity that the following plot didn't go according to his expectation. The thrown school bag was directly sent flying by the tentacles of the slime monster. In fact, it's normal. How could a mud monster that couldn't be subdued by several professional heroes be hit by a school bag? Little ghost, if you are in such a hurry to die, I will help you. Suddenly, another tentacle stretched out from the body of the slime monster, and suddenly attacked Green Valley to stab his body. There is no doubt that with such a small body of Green Valley, it will definitely not be able to resist this blow from the silt monster. Serious injuries are even the result of good luck, and it is very likely that the 5 internal organs in the body will be ruptured and died directly by the powerful impact. Rock and iron wall. At this critical moment, Green Valley heard a familiar voice and a muffled bang. A wall made of rock suddenly appeared in front of him, and the tentacles were hit by the impact, and it was shattered by the impact, and the mud splashed everywhere. Green Valley, although your courage is excellent, but before you have enough strength, what you did today is just to die in vain. The fire light flickered on Anzhe's side face, ignoring the anger of the slime monster. Anzhe turned his head and said instructively to Green Valley. Green Valley Izuku nodded blankly, as if he still didn't understand how Anzhe appeared here. But it doesn't matter. 580. Is there another brat? Let me die. Seeing that his attacks were interrupted one after another, the slime monster roared, and several tentacles appeared in its body. Noisy. Anzhe's eyes were cold, and he stretched out his arm with the magic power of the wind entwined on it, waving it inadvertently like swatting a mosquito. Boom. In an instant, all the tentacles of the slime monster were easily crushed to the sides by the wind and shattered. The ooze monster covering Bakugo Katsuki's body is actually troublesome in detaching the two without hurting Bakugo. Originally, All Might would use a move of Texas Smash, a straight punch to create a powerful wind pressure, and disperse the slime monster's body. Sky Dragon's Wing Strike. The magic power in Anzhe's body was running, and the gust of wind wrapped around the arms of both hands again, slamming the dragon wings and slapping the silt monster. Grab Bakugo Katsuki by the collar. Hoo-hoo. A gust of wind swept from the sky, suppressing everything around, and even made the hair and clothes of the onlookers flutter. The flame at the center of the explosion was instantly extinguished by the wind pressure. The slime monster on Bakugo Katsuki was blown away by the strong wind pressure, and its body scattered into countless raindrop-like sticky objects, which fell from the sky. As for Bakugo himself, he was caught by Anzhe in time, and he didn't fly out with him. Sludge incident resolved. 075 Teach Jiro Kyoka Magic, the Breath of Death. The third update. Please subscribe. 6 women who are known for their large body parts. More. 397. 99. 132. It's so strong. The villains, who couldn't be dealt with by several professional heroes, was easily defeated by the mage. At first, I didn't believe that a teenager who didn't even reach adulthood passed the license exam and became a professional hero. Now it seems that this ability is definitely worthy of it. He is not only a professional hero, but also opened his own firm. I'm so envious. Seeing that the ooze monster was defeated, the surrounding crowd burst into cheers and discussions immediately. At this time, firefighters and police finally arrived at the scene to deal with some aftermath. Several professional heroes under the Anzhe office also helped to use bottles to collect and capture the scattered sticky bodies of the slime monsters. At the same time, several police officers came to make a record on the spot and went down the process. Anzhe also learned the reason why the silt monster, the invisible Quar raincoat of M, has been hunted down by All Might. The evolutionary stronghold that he destroyed once sent a scientific researcher with hundreds of Quirks strengthening potions. In order to distribute and collect information everywhere, Iron Shark is one of them, but when he was looking for M's invisibility cloak, he was swallowed and occupied by the other party with Quirks. After surrendering himself, Arashi Osora confessed this information. The police needed so-called samples in order to study the Quirks strengthening potion developed by the evolutionary organization. Therefore, All Might personally took over the commission from Hero S to capture No. M's invisible Quar raincoat. It is also the villains who can hide, and has only been arrested today. As for those Quirks strengthening potions, it depends on how the police interrogate them from the villains. By the way, Da Konglin was only sentenced to 3 years in prison because he surrendered himself and had a good attitude. At the same time, the cold mechanical sound of the system rang in Anzhe's ears. Congratulations to the host for completing the side mission and winning a B-level lottery. Close black lens bracket. The B-level lottery is won, the villains is defeated, and Anzhe plans to leave. Green Valley Izuku is no accident, he should still be approached by All Might and inherit OFA as the 9th generation. Of course, there are also some reporters who have heard the news and want to interview and obtain first-hand information. Anzhe, who doesn't like being interviewed, let MT. Lady deal with it. She is also very happy to accept this kind of interview to enhance her reputation, although she is eating melons throughout the process. On the other side, Bakugo, he was being asked to check if he was injured, but he didn't say a word the whole time, staring at the direction Anzhe left. Beaten up and rescued by the same guy. This frustrated Bakugo's self-esteem and fell into a tangled state of embarrassment. In short, after a process, the sun gradually sets. Several professional heroes of Anzhe's office continue to be commissioned to patrol the area. Employees, you have to go to work. Unlike Anzhe, the boss, who went straight home. On the way, they met Jiro, Kyoka and Baruch, and the 3 of them also went back to the mall to buy vegetables and rice, and returned home together. Let's stay for dinner too. Pipe question mark quote. Anzhe pointed at Baloo, and she went to the kitchen to prepare dinner as soon as she got home. Okay. Jiro Kyoka hesitated for a while, and after sending an email to his mother to explain, he nodded in agreement. Then continue the morning topic and increase your strength, even though it's dusk now. Anzhe went to the bedroom and took out a pen and paper. The method of magic power cultivation was in his mind, and he wrote it down on the spot. Magic. And curious Jiro Kyoka, looking over his head, read out these 2 keywords. That's right, I'm actually still quirkless, and all my strength comes from it. Jiro Kyoka's eyes widened in surprise, and Anzhe also showed Jiro Kyoka the magic that he showed to AFO at the League of Villains headquarters bar while writing. So, Jiro Kyoka finally understood. What a ghost. Although Anzhe said it was a bit suspenseful at the beginning, the fantasy setting of magic is too suspenseful. Jiro Kyoka took a deep breath. The amount of information was too much, her brain capacity was not enough, but she still asked a little unconfidently, I really can learn it. No problem, as long as you study hard with your heart, you will definitely feel the magic. Anzhe stretched out his hand and touched Jiro Kyoka's head, comforted him softly, and handed her the Rin method of magic power cultivation. Jiro Kyoka pursed his lips, still a little bit tangled. It's better to say that people will inevitably be like this when facing unknown situations. But when she thought that her childhood sweetheart had already become a professional hero, even if she could go to hero, it was only limited by the compulsory age system. His future path and future are definitely destined to be exciting, and if he is still taking a slow step, he will definitely never be able to catch up, so he can only watch his back from afar. I want to learn magic. Jiro Kyoka clenched his fists tightly, his beautiful eyes blinking with firm determination. Afterwards, Jiro Kyoka followed the words on the paper and Anzhe's oral teachings, and started the first practice of magic foundation. Anzhe also used magic to test Jiro Kyoka's magic attribute and found that her magic attribute was thunder. Thunder magic. After he got the thunder-type magic of thunder pressure and rage, he could deduce some simple thunder-type magic by analogy, and the same is true for other masters. Anzhe fantasizes about the scene where Jiro Kyoka learns the thunder magic, plugs her Quirks headphone jack into any place. First the villain is attacked by the sound wave amplified by the heartbeat, and then uses the thunder magic to flow along the headphone cable to the villain's. Double the attack, double the happiness. Thinking about this combination of attacks is very powerful. Enter system space. Guided to the stage where Jiro Kyoka explored the magic power by himself, Anzhe, who had nothing to do, decided to use the B-level lottery that he had just completed the task. Use the B-level lottery. Start B-level lottery draw. Congratulations to the host for winning the magic, Breath of Death, of Joseph Paula, in the lottery. Close black lens bracket. At the same time, after the lottery draw, the magician's heart knew how experience in using this magic, and the routine appeared in his mind. The Breath of Death, dark magic, creates a large amount of black breath within a certain range to cause fear. By Joseph Bola, the guild leader of the Spectre Dominator, is also one of the Holy King Magisters. It is said that the dark magic he mastered, the evil magic power exudes a breath of death, and the magician who lacks power will feel sick just standing in front of him. In the Ghost Dominator chapter, he ends up having a fierce battle with Makarov, the leader of Fairy Tail. That battle was also the first time Fairy Tail's 3 super magicians appeared on the stage. Makarov used the law of super magic goblins to completely defeat them. After the defeat, he was deprived of the title of the guild and the top 10 magic guides for violating the regulations. Dissolve. It can be regarded as a strong villain supporting role in the early stage of Fairy Tail. This magic is also an auxiliary type, and it acts as a deterrent.